Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hope you are well. I begin each of the hours that way. I understand that when this show starts, it sees you guys, and by you guys, I mean my daily listeners, kind of in a weird place, right? Probably dealing with a lot of different things. I'm aware of that, and so I'm really appreciative that you're tuning in to listen to the program and maybe finding a level of entertainment and escapism necessary depending on how your day or week is going. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you get to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything, but if you do, go back, get caught up at your leisure. Woo! We're flying. It must be Thursday. You can email the show if you like, JCS at 979ESPNradio.com. On Twitter, it's at JCameronShow. Also, we are still utilizing the YouTube function here. We aren't videoing the program, but we do put the audio up on the YouTube feed because I'm aware that many of you listen that way. It could be a workaround even in some cases, and because of that, I wanted to be sure that we continue to put that up, and we are. So lots of ways to catch up. I am oddly looking forward to the weekend. It is only Thursday, but we're close enough to see it just because I want to watch that Jordan thing on Sunday night. But also, I think, I'm starting to fall in love with the fact that my youngest son, and I'm going to maybe purchase one of these things. I don't know, Tom, you played competitive golf in high school, so maybe you had one of these. I don't know the value of this, short of what we're talking about investing in, you and I, with the monitor and the
That's right.
simulator. Did you have one of those netting things that you hit golf balls into that you could use in your backyard? I'm getting one. I'm buying one.
Okay.
It's supposed to come. Well, I'll be truth be told, I did buy one. I bought one. It's on the way. Is what I should say.
At that point, we had the unlimited range membership.
Oh, well, that works out well.
Which ended up, we did the math on it once. I've said this before, but it paid for our 1 year of it paid for 4 years worth of memberships at the highest level because of how many golf balls I hit.
Well, that's well done.
$8 a bag. I hit so many bags.
By the way, I would say our good friends over at Southwood are open. Our good friends at Klarn are open. I think Legacy is open. I think the courses are open, man.
Just call ahead. They're busy.
They are, and it's
and they're taking the precautions. The carts,
that's the whole thing. The
Klarn
rules.
is 1 cart per player. Can't touch the flag stick. There's no rakes. You just got to kind of kick yourself. I think you should kick yourself a good lie, to be honest, because no, those things are like beaches.
Yeah,
I don't mean kick it out of the bunker. I mean, kind of rake it with your foot to give yourself a fair fighting chance instead of whatever nonsense it is, non-raked form. Or you should be able to ground your club, one or the other. It's a waste area then instead of a true traditional bunker. I think Trey Jones would agree with me on that.
Probably so. But, there you go. That's what you got. You got that. You've got the ability to get outside and hang out. My youngest son is starting to like golf, and I thought, if you want to practice hitting, and we can't always, get out to the golf course or whatever that might be, son, I do too. We'll go in the backyard, and I'll put up this giant net so we don't crank it into the neighbor's yard or off their house down the street, and we'll fire away for hours on end.
I looked yesterday at an easy assemble hockey net to put in the garage, but it would make too much damn noise. It has a backstop and everything, so it's got a wider net outside of the 4x6 that an official goal is. But geez, I mean, you think about the noise that a stick makes. I'd feel bad for my neighbors.
Well, you're not doing it at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, you're out there during the day. Who cares?
I might, though. It might be a Friday. I'm like, I'm going to go shoot some pucks.
So I saw this made the interwebs, in particular Twitter, how there had been articles regarding a police announcement that even during the coronavirus outbreak, you still needed to wear pants when checking your mail. And a lot of people made jokes about this, and they retweeted with a comment this story, and people were like, oh, God, these freaking rules already, But it really is so applicable to me. Between the mail and the trash, my unfortunate neighbors have seen me scantily clad on numerous occasions rolling out because I get up so early. I will forget to check the mail from the day before, especially in these times when you're really not getting anything of any substance, And I'll go, oh, well, I got to take out the trash today. I'll go check the mail. And I may be in some boxer briefs rolling out to check the mail. It may happen.
It's old T-Back Cameron. Here he is again.
Yeah, I like the nickname. There's T-Back.
T-back Cameron.
T-back Cameron out here checking his mail at 5:45 a.m. thinking
Boy,
I can't see him.
He gallops in the morning, doesn't he?
It's a little brisk, but I get out to that mailbox and get back in, get my coffee. Oh, Martha, he's gone too far today. Cameron's checking the mail and assless chaps. What are we doing here? I'm strolling out there getting the mail.
That's not the kind of hammock I wanted.
Oh, no. So you got the draft to look forward to, everybody, and we're not far off now, and I am looking forward to it very much so. And there is entertainment and interesting sidebars as far as what teams are going to do in the virtual draft. And hey, by the way, I'm sure you know this. Hall of Fame, it's all relative whenever you're in the Hall of Fame, and it's the WWE Hall of Fame. But their legendary announcer's dead. Howard Finkel.
Yeah, I remember Howard Finkel.
He was only 69 years old. That's a shame. I did not know, and I remember Howard Finkel too because he looked ridiculous. He refused to cut his hair short despite being bald, so he had the poofination around the sides with that cheese ball mustache to go with it, and he would be in the middle of the ring with his tux on. I remember him well. He's dead now, and I'm not celebrating that fact, just a statement of fact. Finkel is dead.
He's not Einhorn. This is a different Finkel.
I was hoping you'd go there. I wanted to see if you would.
Well, you left it out there.
Remembering Einhorn is well done on your part, by the way. That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel.
And Psychoville, and Finkel's the mayor.
That's right. You know, that movie doesn't hold up.
Oh, it's still hilarious to me.
I loved it. I loved it in a way that was unhealthy when I first saw it. I look at it now, and you're like, there's so much physical humor, and a lot of times physical humor does not, in my mind, last.
Well, it's all the start. You got to watch it start to finish, because if the HGS part where he's banging the package around doesn't make you laugh, then you're not going to enjoy the movie. But if you enjoy those first 15 minutes where he's walking down the streets of South Beach and then he's in the elevator and he's like kicks it, kick off down the hallway.
Yeah.
If you don't like that, the movie's going to be rough for you. I went to the theaters. My degenerate sister took me to see that when I was 8. It's a little much for an 8-year-old, but it was, I was rolling and I didn't get most of the jokes.
This is a subject matter that I laugh about all the time. Parents, for whatever reason, were really loosey-goosey with whatever it was they allowed their kids to watch from a movie standpoint back in the day. I saw, it's like the Corey Clark promo where we're talking about Angel Heart. Corey saw that because his sister rented Angel Heart. Angel Heart, you've seen Angel Heart.
No, I've not.
Okay. Well, it's the famed Lisa Bonet scene that got her in such hot water, and why? Because at the time she was on the Cosby Show, and Bill Cosby was upset. Little did we know, and he's probably the last person that should have been upset. But Lisa Bonet has a torrid romance scene with Mickey
Rourke. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So with Mickey Rourke.
It wasn't Mickey Rooney.
Yeah. No. And it's a really weird scene, not just because it's pretty graphic, but it's incorporating frightening elements of voodoo, and there's blood, and it's a scary scene. It's not something it's hard to see as an adult. As a kid, it would ruin you. And so the fact that he saw that, I was horrified.
Yeah.
What in the world? I've seen that, and it's a disturbing scene. You, as a child, must have been. And he's, I don't know. We rented it, and it got me to thinking. And you just added to it. I saw all kinds of things.
Oh,
at
sure.
8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
My 9-year-old son. I know how sensitive he is, and how easily frightened he becomes by even the thought of any veiled violence references or potential for problems he picks up on and gets nervous quickly, and it will affect his sleep. We were watching those things all the time. If you had older siblings and you learned how to jip Comcast or whoever the cable company was at the time, Cox Cable or whoever, you saw things you had no business. I saw The Hills Have Eyes, the original, as a kid.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's no good. Yeah, I was... my parents didn't like me or didn't really want me to watch The Simpsons when I was younger. And not only did my sister let me watch The Simpsons, I was like maybe 10, and she would let me stay up and watch Howard Stern on the E! Channel.
With the chicks in the studio?
What
do we do?
All the freaks and the chicks. And it's like, whoa, what in the world is this?
Oh, my Lord.
My one sister rented Sudden Death when I was, I guess, 10 or 11 with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I'm watching, a terrorist wipe out, citizens, crying people who don't want to die get shot. I'm like, my God. Yeah. Oh, I got the advanced learning curve. That's the problem, though. If you're the youngest, in general, that happens because the oldest sibling will drag you along.
That is what happens, and Bryce does that to Clark, and I'm forever like, man, he's 9.
Yeah.
He can't see that.
Clark has a sped-up innocence curve, thanks to Bryce.
Yeah. Really quickly, as we are, and I alluded to the draft, and we're going to have a discussion in a second about O.J. Howard due to the rumors that are out there today. Of the quarterbacks, so much is being made right now of Tua. Are we on the same page when it comes to Justin Herbert? We don't think he can play?
If I had to lean a certain way, yeah, that would be the way I lean.
So here's the thing. It's so bizarre with Herbert. He is as polarizing as they come. And I was thinking about this today with the draft, and we're getting closer. The Bucs aren't in need of a QB right now, although they could draft one as the heir apparent to Tom Brady. Although I don't think that would be my first pick. That said, Herbert's weird. He has a big arm, but he doesn't anticipate well, in my opinion. He's 6'6", 240, fairly athletic at that size, running a 4.6 40, and he's a 4.0 student. So he's said to be, everything I've read in terms of the preview of who he is and the people that have been around him and or coached him, is that he's wicked smart, he's a freak of an athlete, he's dedicated, hardworking, and tough, he's got a big arm, and you and I don't like him.
Well, here's a couple of numbers to point why you don't. So I didn't verify these on my own. I'm just going that the draft person putting it on Twitter is accurate, okay? He had an inordinate number of his passes be screen passes or around the line of scrimmage. If you look at the total percentage of his attempts the past year, it's ridiculous, the number of things that are right around the line of scrimmage. And then if you look at downfield accuracy, he was 91st, I want to say it was, in downfield accuracy. And his competitors in the first round were like top 3. So you have a guy who, if you're looking at the numbers he amasses, they're amassed in a check down way. He may be big and have a big arm.
He does.
But he's not accurate down the field relative to his competition in any way, shape, or form. Like, not even close. So what exactly are you at that point?
Well, I think you make a good point, because the other knock on him is something I noted, but you could just see it. You didn't have to go back and watch the coach's film. Anticipatory throws were terrible. He really stunk at that, and that is something that has now come out where those who are evaluating the draft and these quarterbacks more in-depthly have pointed to. They've talked about that. Oregon should have won the Auburn game, but he misses on 2 easy throws that if he anticipates are scores. And there's that. They talked about that. There is the other issue that Greg Cosell and some others have mentioned in looking at him. They didn't like his footwork, and they didn't like the system that he played in. Now, that's unfair because a lot of guys play in systems these days that don't translate, but then go to the league and find ways to adapt. So I'm not holding that as in high a regard as I once did. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah, that's changed a lot.
Well, but what are you thinking he is then? What's his upper limit? Josh Allen? Because he's athletic and a big guy and can make some throws? If Josh Allen is the upper limit of what you can be, I don't want you as a first-round pick. There's not enough value there for me.
Yeah, when you're drafting that high and the spots that people are talking about him going, he has to be a franchise changer. It can't be that you need to have other things around him already in place.
Right, at pick 45, maybe.
Yes,
at pick 15, no way.
Yeah. I think you can shape a guy like that if you give him time, but that's a tough deal when you're drafting that early.
Add that to the fact that he made the gaffe in the interview process, the one that you noted quickly, where he says, I don't know if I'm ready.
No, that drove me nuts. I certainly wouldn't draft him. I just wanted to get a feel on the biggest names in the draft as we get closer and closer to doing it.
I think that this quarantine period has been a godsend for Tua because he doesn't have to go to individual teams and work out. All he's doing is putting out closed-circuit footage of him working out, and I'm sure that it's clipped to find the best parts where he looks perfectly healthy. But team doctors can't put their hands on the injured areas from the past. He may have a medical that is distributed across the NFL, so nobody has a competitive advantage, But still, you want your own people, your own specialists in your own city to take a look at him and give you an idea of who he is.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Tua, and I'll continue to come back to this, is just if you believe he's healthy, you need to pick him. If you don't think, if you think he's an injury risk moving forward, or that the types of injuries he suffered portend of problems moving forward, then don't. That's it. Because it's not a matter of whether he can play. He can play.
It's probably for maybe tomorrow or next week, but do you see the narrative that Mel Kiper's pushing about Jalen Hurts? That the Patriots are interested in him.
Oh, Jesus, whatever. Mel, good Lord. I know we got to drum up interest, but please. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
It's time to unite, Tallahassee. After years of our great local restaurants serving us, it's our turn to serve them. With this simple purchase of gift cards, we can help them survive the financial toll of COVID-19. Buy them for yourself, your family, or as gifts. No doubt we'll all have a reason to go out and celebrate soon as we safely can. Go to hungertohelp.com and show your support for the heart of our community today. This message brought to you in part by your local Tallahassee radio broadcasters.
Lane's Medical Shop has all of your home medical needs. They carry home oxygen, hospital beds, nebulizers, walkers, wheelchairs, orthotics, diabetic shoes, and all sleep apnea supplies. Lane's also has a weight loss clinic in-house, no appointment necessary, including B12 injections and any prescriptions necessary with the lowest prices around, and delivers to Tallahassee and South Georgia. Located only 40 miles from Tallahassee, go see Blake today, 210 West Main Street, Colquitt, Georgia, 229-758-9111.
Not all law firms are equal, so here's why Fonville Lewis Mesher McConaughey was recently voted Tallahassee's best law firm. First, we only take real cases. If your car was barely bumped and you think you're going to get rich, we're not the firm for you. We limit our practice to serious cases with legitimate claims. Second, we only take cases involving real injuries. If you know you aren't hurt but think you can fool your way into a quick settlement, we're not the firm for you. We encourage our clients to heal up and get better, not sit on the couch and expect a windfall. Third, we don't want clients who are just in it for the money. If the very first thing you think of after getting hurt is calling pound something or other on your cell phone instead of calling 911, we're not the firm for you. Your health should always come first. And finally, we won't blow smoke about a big money outcome just to get your case. Other firms overpromise and underdeliver. Our only promise is that we'll work harder than anyone to get you the best result. Remember, the law firm you have representing you makes all the difference, so don't settle for less. Call Fonville Lewis Mesher McConaughey and let us put our reputation to work for you.
Golick and Wingo.
Wait, here's a real question. Okay. How often do you guys wash your sheets?
You're supposed to wash your sheets?
Okay. Like, that's my thought. It's like
that's terrifying.
Mine's like once every few months, hopefully.
Yeah, I think we wash our sheets like a couple times a week.
A couple times a week?
Yeah.
A couple times a week. Like in the same week, you would wash your sheets multiple times. Sometimes. Now, I know you're not doing it.
No, but sometimes we collectively do that.
I got into a heated debate with a bunch of people in a group chat about that, so I was curious.
How long it happens or how often it should happen?
How often I want to know how often in real life people wash their sheets. So at Golick and Wingo, how often do you wash your sheets?
Now I need to know what were the hot takes in this text stream. What were the
Some people wash them weekly. Others of us who live in normal life hopefully wash them every couple of months.
I got a couple of months. I would venture to say we wash them once a week or once every 2 weeks. That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds. Once every 2 months?
Maybe. I got a nice quarterly washing.
Golick and Wingo, weekdays at 6 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
That, the closer he gets to realizing his dream of going to the NFL, he realizes, okay, it's time to put away the childish things. We got to get focused here. I got a chance to make millions of dollars. But for whatever the reason, he does it, and he becomes a much better guy. And really, you haven't heard a peep out of him since. There's been no problems off the field. There have been no issues off the field. But the league seemed to be really worried, and that was the word that was emanating from the combine. So I think that hurt him. But I think the biggest thing that hurt him was his injury history. You had the shoulder, which was a devastating injury that really hampered him for some time. He played through it like he did every other injury. You had hamstring issues, which on quick twitch guys is a problem. And if you have persistent hamstring problems, I'm telling you, when I go in that draft room with you, if a guy's had multiple hamstring problems and he's built like Dalvin Cook and he's quick twitch like Dalvin Cook, I am going to raise my hand and say, guys, when he plays, he's going to be fantastic. I don't know how many games a year he's going to miss with his hamstring. It's going to be a problem because think about all the hamstring guys over the years.
And that's where if you're Minnesota, it's a bigger risk because you're playing on turf. That's worse for those type of quick twitch injuries.
Yeah, so I think it was more the injuries. I think it was more the shoulder and the hamstring and the ankle and everything else. I think those were the things that really kind of gave teams pause, why he fell into the second round, why he went 41st overall. Everybody gets mad at the Bucs. The truth is, every team in the league passed on that guy more than once. I mean, they're like, I don't know. And they all saw the tape. We know what he was in college. One of the best 5 players in the country. And yet he goes 41st. So, okay. Back to O.J. Howard. We're sitting 16?
Yeah, it's in the team.
16.
I just closed it.
No, but we're sitting 16. So there we go, and we go, oh, my God, O.J. Howard's going to fall to us. And if at that time, based on his productivity in college and based on his body type and athleticism, if you think that's Travis Kelce or a player like Travis Kelce, you have to take him because the league has gone in that direction. All these dynamic offenses have a tight end that is a matchup problem, just uncoverable. The kind of guys where you're like, well, you got to put Derwin James on him, or you got to put Jalen Ramsey on him. You got to put guys that are also freaks on that freak. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, and what have you done? You said, all right, these guys neutralize each other, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Now let's go to work with Mike Evans and Godwin.
Correct.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's the thought process, and I still don't regret it. What I regret is that he's turned out to not be very good. He reveals himself to be football dumb. I don't know if he is dumb, but he's football dumb. The wrong routes, the misreads. I think frustration has led to effort issues at times with him. Speculation, I don't know that. But he's not getting the most out of that body. He doesn't get the most out of what he has. And we got little snapshots of what could be under Cutter. That's the only good thing Dirk Cutter did. And you saw that. You saw, okay, they were going to utilize him and find him, especially on those out of the backfield wheel routes where they get him down the sideline wide the hell open.
Well, and that's the one thing where I'd argue against myself in that season that he was really good for Dirk. It wasn't that he was the focal point of a game plan and he imposed his will. It was that we hit you with Mike and Chris so often that you forgot that OJ existed, and now he's wide open. Yeah. So he was the counterpunch instead of being the focal point. And when you draft him, you think he's going to be the focal point.
You got to be the focal point. I mean, I really thought he would be a nightmare.
But it's one hell of a guy to release on a wheel route. Usually that's a fullback that's wide open, not a guy who can run like the wind.
Well, Lombardi speculates the Bucs wanted a second-round pick for him. The Bucs have until May 3rd, by the way, to pick up Howard's fifth-year option. And he was, O.J. Howard, the subject of trade interest before the deadline last year. The Patriots were the ones knocking on the door.
Which is why you tend to believe what Michael Lombardi's hearing?
It's exactly why I believe what Michael Lombardi's hearing. The problem with this is twofold. If the Patriots and Bill Belichick are inquiring about your tight end, it concerns me that you're not getting enough out of your tight end. Because they see something, and they see that you are not maximizing what he could be. And that's why they're calling you. It's like hang up the phone if the Rays call you. If the Rays call you, you've got a stud that you're not using correctly, and they're going to take him off your hands for next to nothing. You're going to give him away, and you're going to look up, and Austin Meadows is hitting .330 with 33 home runs. Pittsburgh Pirates. There it is, right? It happens time and again. And when the Patriots call you and go, we're kind of interested in that there tight end you got, you go, ooh, are you? Hang up the phone. Quick, hang up the phone.
To a degree, but at least they're not in your division.
Well, that's correct if you're going to make the trade. It worries me. Howard was not any good at all last year in Bruce Arians' system. He finished with 34 catches and 450 yards. Get the hell out of here with that. That's not going to get it done.
I feel like he had 34 targets, and I know that he set some in the air for defensive backs to pick off, but he was never part of the plan.
Career low in yards per receptions. It is noted in two separate articles, and we were screaming this from the mountaintops with all the Jameis stuff. People bothered to go back and look. I'm telling you, it's felt like every other game he was personally responsible, either by giving the ball away or running the completely wrong route. Personally responsible for like 10 of Jameis' interceptions. I hated him by the end of the year. I was like, I'm done with O.J. Howard. Sit his ass on the bench. He's killing us. This article points that out, that he was remembered for untimely drops and fumbles throughout the season. Yes, he was. Red zone fumbles. That guy killed us. I mean, how many 3 separate occasions I can think of where either inside your own 20 or inside the opposing team's 20, that dude's putting the ball on the ground or it's tipping off his hands on a perfectly thrown pass and going straight up in the air. Oh, that guy sucked.
Yeah, but he can catch a baseball, though.
Amazingly. Just whoosh-ah. No, he's an athlete. He's a freakish athlete. There's something that we're not unlocking, that 2 separate coaching staffs really never got the most out of this guy. He's not even part of the plan. You're right. In Tampa under Arians. That's got to change. I hope that's something Tom Brady goes, I like the tight end. That I have a long history of kicking ass with tight ends.
Indeed he does.
Yes. Can we please start incorporating the tight end? In fact, I'm not asking. We're going to start incorporating the tight end. That's what better happen.
Yeah, I saw Carson Palmer was quoted as saying that Brady will demand at minimum 20 to 30 of his own plays be put in the playbook.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah, because he knows. He knows, man. We're not going to be starting from scratch here with this offense. Brady's going to come in and say, I'm be surprised. I don't know if the NFL releases the actual word-by-word lines in a contract. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a stipulation in the contract that Brady has a certain leeway to run a certain part of the offense the way he sees fit.
Well, listen, he's going to be 25 years old. He's a guy that should be walking into the prime of his career. He's got his man weight. He's always been in great shape. He's athletically gifted in ways that not a lot of people are at the position. He should be a dynamic weapon. What I got tired of was how many times people talked about when they would prattle off the reasons that the Bucs should have been better. He was always mentioned amongst them. I'm like, no, he was one of the reasons we were struggling. That supposed asset or weapon you guys are referring to killed Jameis. Killed him. They'd always be like, oh, they should have been better. They had O.J. Howard and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I'm like, ease off on that. They had O.J. Howard talk, man. He was useless.
Well, here's the thing for O.J., and I'll bet Tom Brady says this in unkind terms. He'll take him over to St. Jetersburg, as they call the place out in Davis Islands, and he'll say, O.J., if you suck this year, nobody's going to sign you for anything, like not even 50 cents.
I am the killer when it comes to tight end usage.
Two offensive coaches and then me can't make it work with you. It can't work with you. So here's what you need to do.
Yeah, well, it's a good point, Tom, because I don't think that there's any coming back from that. Like, you can't argue that. If the greatest player of all time walks in and says, look here, man, this is how it's going to be. You have failed twice. There won't be a third. And if there is, peace. I mean, I would think that gets your attention. It's interesting, by the way. You know my hunch that he's football dumb? Quote, unquote. I think Howard is a great name right now, but I think there's an instinctive issue about his game. Therefore, he'll be available. That's Michael Lombardi saying he's dumb as a post. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
No,
here.
He's not as dumb as a post because anybody can run a post except O.J. Howard.
Yeah, it's just strange. I don't know the answer because I'm not in the locker room. I don't talk with O.J. Howard. I don't watch the film to see what he was supposed to do and what he did do or didn't do. I just know from watching most play design, when you look at that he's not in the right place, and you can see it written all over Jameis's face. When you're like, he's walking off the field, that look of, okay.
Think about it this way. It's really simple. What does Jameis do on 3rd and 7? Where does he go with the ball? Who's the number one person he goes to on 3rd and 7?
Well, Brate. He gets him killed.
Brate. You don't think he'd rather throw the ball to O.J. Howard in that situation?
Right. No, it's just that Brate's reliable. He'll be where he's supposed to be.
And there it is. That's the same thing with Humphreys. when he needed to get bailed out.
He'll be where
he
he's supposed to be, yeah.
And that's 3/4 of the battle. Brady would tell you the same thing. And look, here's a moment, a throw that might have changed everything about the time that Dirk Cutter's been in Tampa. It's the final play of Tampa Bay
he's got a
versus New
touchdown.
England.
He's got a touchdown. He's tackled on the one.
It's Tampa, New England. It would have been a walk-off touchdown at Raymond James Stadium.
It would have changed everything.
It changes the course of everything we do. And OJ didn't go to the right place, and Dirk said it right after the game, exasperatedly so. Dirk says Jameis made the perfect read, and OJ didn't go where he was supposed to go on the play.
That's Jameis's career in a nutshell there. I mean, he doesn't get excused away all of the problems, but, boy, he did have problems with guys not understanding what they were supposed to do.
And just think for a moment how frustrated Dirk Cutter had to have been to blame O.J. Howard and not Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
To totally exonerate Jameis on that play.
Which he does not want to do.
He never wanted to do. What drove him to the point where he said it's not Jameis' fault, it was O.J.'s fault completely?
Yeah. The Bucs would float him out there to move up from 14 and move up to get the best tackle available, I guess. But there are 4 elite tackles available in this draft. One of them is falling to you. Don't move up.
I don't know.
I think they are. One of them is the kid from Georgia is falling to you.
I don't know.
Well, if you're scared, then you need to trade O.J. Howard and move up.
Well, what it does, too, is it frees up a few dollars for you. So if you want to go get an Edelman, send over a 7th to the Patriots or something and go get Edelman.
I need to know where Edelman's head's at. I know he's a red ass and a hard worker. He's also old, and he got arrested for jumping on cars drunk out in Los Angeles. What are we doing here? Are you in it? Where's your head?
Well, if you're looking at a receiver candidate who might have CTE later in life, Julian Edelman is the one.
Yes.
Wes Welker, the same.
I need to know where your head's at.
Remember, Wes had the great Gazoo helmet towards the end of his career.
It'll be interesting. I'm getting excited about the draft, to say the least. That question of O.J. Howard plagues me. This is one of the ones that would keep me up at night if I were Jason Light. I don't like the Patriots calling me and asking me about O.J. Howard. That alerts me to the fact that we're not utilizing something. And then secondly...
Well, if he burns us, then we're going to see him in the Super Bowl. That would be my play if I'm Jason Light.
Yeah, I know. But I just don't like what it signifies. And it would tell me, well, we have him. He is a current asset on our team. Why don't we utilize him or get the most out of him? Maybe Arians can't, but it doesn't matter what Arians wants to do because you got Tom Brady who will dictate terms.
But I would think that Brady, who has crunched every play of Buccaneers film over the last year probably 5 times over already.
Yeah.
He's done that much. He's seen what OJ can do in the All-22.
Well, he'll tell you. Do you want to keep him or not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have Brady FaceTime OJ 2 or 3 different times just to see, did I catch him on a bad day? And let's talk turkey on this stuff. And if OJ's eyes are all over the place, not focusing on the little dot on the FaceTime.
Follow the bouncing ball, OJ.
Right.
I need you to follow the bouncing ball.
Then Brady's going to go, listen, he'd be a great American gladiator. Trade him.
Yeah, that's funny. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
It's time to unite, Tallahassee. After years of our great local restaurants serving us, it's our turn to serve them. With this simple purchase of gift cards, we can help them survive the financial toll of COVID-19. Buy them for yourself, your family, or as gifts. No doubt we'll all have a reason to go out and celebrate soon as we safely can. Go to hungertohelp.com and show your support for the heart of our community today. This message brought to you in part by your local Tallahassee radio broadcasters.
Seminole Headlines Podcast Edition is presented to you by the Morgan Law Group, representing the policyholder, going after the insurance companies. Offices, Miami, Orlando, Naples, and Panama City. Online at policyadvocate.com.
During this current health crisis, our homes have never been more important. They are the gathering place for our families. They are our schools, our entertainment, and our protection. We know this has taken some getting used to, but we also know we will get through it together. So here's to the home. May it always be a place of comfort for you. A reminder from your friends at Barron-O Heating and Air, following CDC measures to protect your family and ours.
Jeff Cameron here, and mark it down. Wednesdays on my show, we're giving away Which Wicked Sandwiches. That's right. Tune in to the Jeff Cameron Show every Wednesday for your chance at a free Wicked 5 meats and 3 cheeses of deliciousness. Which is Wicked Wednesdays every week on the JCS.
Seminole headlines.
Kids, go see Angel Heart.
No, don't see that
Not
ever.
kids.
What? Not anyone.
Well, I mean, I call people that are in their 20s kids. Okay. So, yeah, if you're over 18, see Angel Heart.
Don't see it. No.
Although it's a dark movie.
Oh, you think?
But it's great. I love it.
No, there's nothing good about it
yeah,
at
but
all.
what do you...
No.
I
saw it when I was 11 or 12, and I'm never seeing it again.
Why
it
were you
scarred
watching
me.
that? What kind of parenting was going on in your house that you were watching?
We had a Blockbuster Video, and I was allowed to just rent movies and watch them during the summer.
First of all, it was rated R. Why they let you rent?
My sister got it. My sister got it.
Yeah, that's not a movie for an 11-year-old.
Oh no, I know.
What about this? When he eats the egg?
No,
he eats the egg?
What are the questions?
When he eats the egg. Yeah. De Niro's
He's a good.
In that movie?
Yeah.
Did you pick up on it early that who he was?
No. I was 11.
Tuesday night on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Front Row Knowles, featuring Tom Block and Keith Jones, is brought to you by Hobson Chevrolet in Cairo, Georgia. Get your best deal the Hobson way. Catch Front Row Knowles every Wednesday night at 6, right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Redemption Thursday, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Got a do-it-yourself project that needs to be finished? Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, 1110 Stuckey Avenue in Tallahassee and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Online at ctf.nu.
Clock hour got word that Mike Martin Jr. is going to be happy to join us then, and we'll talk a little bit about what he's going through, what that program's going through, what coaches are dealing with, the unknowns, the speculation, the concerns, and the hopes. It's going to be fascinating to see how they react to this, especially in sports that have partial scholarships like that. It's curious indeed. You got the questions surrounding the draft, and there's a real possibility that this next year is a loaded college baseball season with so many people. You know what I thought about, Tom? I thought about, and I guess if I remember, I can ask him about this. But if you're a player that didn't get this penultimate season in, you lost your leverage year. You got to have your leverage year, and I imagine that they're going to push to get that. I mean, that's your only negotiating tool.
Yeah. Well, that's something that, just across the board, when you're looking at years of service questions, years of eligibility questions, there were a lot of guys who trained a lot of time. And
their
then
whole life.
Well, there are still others, like, okay, if you're Noah Syndergaard for the Mets, you have 2 years of team control left. This was one of them. Does the team still have 2 years of control left?
Right. How's that work? Yeah.
If they don't play a season, or is it only just the one? If you were him, you're arguing, no, man, I don't care if there wasn't a season. 1 year left. It's my time to go get paid. There's a lot of different ways you could look at it across college and pro.
Well, and that's a matter of whether, and again, we feel like the pros are more apt to actually play the sport, get out there and play. So many of these leagues desperately want to play. That is really what's emerged here, is that you can clearly see, whether it's commissions or rhetoric, whatever. You listen to these commissioners. I'm talking about the NBA, Major League Baseball, clearly. If you listen to government, yes, I mean, they're going to try to utilize sports as the catalyst to ease the country back into a sense of norm and to kickstart the economy. But let's see if that actually happens. I mean, the opening of sports professionally seems a lot more likely if you're just guessing timeline than collegiately. That's for sure.
And it just happens to be sports that's going to be at the intersection of how realistic a lot of industries, the future of how realistic it is to open in the summer versus open in the fall, maybe next year. MLB didn't volunteer to do this. Reading on the 10,000 person antibody test, MLB didn't do it on its own. The government said, we're looking for an organization to help us widespread test these antibody numbers to see if we're building immunity to COVID-19 after we're exposed to it or not. Who can help? And MLB is like, hell yes, we will be happy to do it. MLB claims that they're not doing it because they want to open sooner. They want to do it to just be a help to the government. That in no way are they interested in their own business model, which is a load of crap. You can want to do both. You can want to help the country and then help your own business. And I believe that's what MLB's doing. But what's interesting to me is, once again, sports was the thing that signaled this to the common person about the seriousness of COVID-19. Wasn't the government, wasn't the media, it was sports shutting down that finally caught people's attention. And now it can be sports again that helps dictate whether or not different industries that have nothing to do with sports open up sooner rather than later.
Don't let anybody ever tell you sports aren't important. Here's evidence of it even further. It affects all aspects of the American way of life, really the way of life in general. You'll get if you look around the world with the shutdown of a world sport like soccer, I mean, it's just, yes.
And the financial implications of it are more far-reaching than the non-sports person would ever try to poo-poo you about.
It is bizarre, by the way, with baseball and this, sort of dystopian Major League biodome creation. It's like, what in the world? I don't know that's good. It just sounds crazy. I don't know that it's going to work. I want it to. I want to see baseball. I don't care if there are fans in the stands or not. I want to see baseball. But that's just selfishly stating what I want to see. I did laugh at the proposal that you had no fans allowed, essential staff only, managers, first base coaches, certain specialists, all that stuff, right?
First base coach is not essential.
I know.
Here, take my stuff, man.
So they also said that instead of players gathering in dugouts, they would sit in the stands 6 feet apart. That's part of the proposal. Your turn, Teddy. You're up.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like, come on down, like The Price is Right. Do, and he's like walking down all the steps. I mean, that's ridiculous. Plus, so what does that mean? You got to take a number before you go in the locker room after the game?
I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe it can. I'm certainly rooting for it too. I think we all are, but I don't. It's hard to envision. Like, I can picture football plowing ahead doing what they do because they are that way. But I can't. Baseball, that's a little bit tougher. You're going to get every team to go play in the...
Football's tough, though, man. I mean, if you're the right guard and you've got COVID, the entire trenches now have COVID.
No, I get that. I'm saying they'll be willing to take the risk and play without fans and do all of that. They will. And, yeah, no, I'm not saying you're going to see football played before 50,000 fans. That's not happening anytime soon. I just think that they'll tell their personnel, hey, you could get it. We'll do everything we can to help you. But if you want that $9 million you were set to make, you can go out there and play.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing is, like, for the NBA, there wasn't a push because they were getting their full checks as though games were being played normally. How sustainable is that?
Do you think, by the way, put a ribbon on this real quick and move on. I have to confess, I never really thought about, at length anyhow, the idea of sports being played without the fans. And the more I think about it, I get it, because we're so desperate right now. The easy hair trigger response is, oh, yeah, I'd watch. Got to be honest with you. I think sports with no fans in pro football, Major League Baseball, maybe even the NBA, are going to be pretty damn dull. I think fans mean a lot to all of these sports. I think they do.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a sport that I casually care about and I turn over to it and the atmosphere is raucous,
yeah, you'll watch.
I'm going to say, when the Mets aren't in the playoffs in baseball, I don't really care. But when I flipped over to Toronto for the first time,
and it was crazy,
like a few years back when they first made it back, Sky Dome, I mean, like
it was lit.
It's a riot. They had to have like riot police.
That's the Bautista home run with the bat flip,
right?
Yeah.
You can't take your eyes off of that broadcast.
It's riveting, man. It's riveting. It's like when the Pirates made the playoffs and they were able to rattle what's his face? Cueto.
Hey, here's a good analogy. Okay, the final scene of the first Star Wars, right, where they walk and they get the medals. You know, they blow up the Death Star.
Yeah.
There is a version of it that says no music, no John Williams. So watch this scene without John
boring
Williams.
Boring as hell.
And you're like, this is really awkward.
Awkward, yeah.
That's kind of like what sports will be.
I feel like that's true. Can you picture just the silence?
Yes, I can, because I need to.
Well, people are doing that now. I don't know. I think it's interesting. If you don't have anybody in the stands, I think that what we're watching is a pretty dull thing.
I don't think so. I would hope the FCC would allow a little bit of leeway, because what you've got to do is mic up the players.
You do indeed, and coaches, without question.
And then, but you hear like the physical collisions, and you hear the F-bombs, and do it the way that ESPN's doing it. Have an alternate broadcast that has just a distant microphone like you would normally hear.
Okay, I'm fair with that. I do want to hear the interactions. I want to hear the intricate details. I want to hear the strategy. I want to hear the desperation in the voice of players and the frustrations and the joy. I want to hear all that. Okay, that would add a little something too. But without fans, man, I have a feeling it's just going to sound, that echo of play, it's just, you're going to get bored to tears. It's really weird. The backdrop of the noise of the fans influencing the games in the way that they do, and I think they do. Road games are more difficult to win for a reason. You know, just I think.
What if you allowed somebody to sit in the studio and they have crowd noise for big plays, little plays, defensive plays?
Oh, you just
and they're allowed
pipe
to hit
it in,
and like you've got a track underneath it. You've got a track.
I would know it was the same as a laugh track. I couldn't do it because I can't stand those now. I can't even go back and watch Seinfeld episodes because of the laugh track now. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, think about Rocky with no music. It's just a bunch of guys going,
that's movies. Oh, that's movies in general. They manipulate our emotions through music. All movies. That's exactly what, they do that. Those movies are made more poignant, or the level of violence ratcheted up by the intensity of the sounds that you're hearing with the music. Absolutely. Chef Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
This spring, I'm making Everyday Earth Day by incorporating small actions that can create big results.
Like what?
Well, I'm starting with daily habits, turning off the lights every time I leave a room, shutting off the tap when I brush my teeth, and unplugging electronics when I'm not using them.
Those are great ideas our whole family can do.
And since we're home more, I could also use your help with a few one-time projects that could benefit us long-term, like fixing water leaks and installing our rain barrel.
I'd love to help. Right after I call the City of Tallahassee Utilities at 891-4968 to sign up for paperless billing.
Excellent. Tonight, let's ask the kids if they have any ideas about what we can do to save energy, water, and money as we celebrate Earth Day at home.
2020 marks the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and there are many things TLH can do to celebrate at home. Get inspiration at TLHcando.com. Small actions create big results. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Tallahassee's tastiest jumbo wings are back in force. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is now open daily from 4 to 9 p.m. for all your takeout needs. Enjoy an all-day, everyday special of 10 wings and a basket of fries for just $10. Plus, have the Corner Pocket make you a signature to-go beer or liquor beverage as well. Red Russians, anybody? Just call 574-2724 for your wing order today. That's 574-2724 for the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Or to stop by and order in person, please use the outdoor deck. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachia Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Golic and Wingo.
Dabo got the response that the establishment gets now. Like, he used to be the mom and pop shop where it was Clemsoning before, and they were the ones rising up to challenge Alabama because, again, what he said is not, like, objectively offensive, right? It's a college football coach, and you heard him say at the beginning, my preference would be. Like, clearly, so he was asked, what would be your preference as far as this? And, of course, he hopes that college football is being played. I think what everyone wants in an ideal world is all optimism to be measured enough to say, listen, we hope and we're planning on doing this as is, but we understand we're adjusting every day. People, I think, want that concession built in, and so when it's not, a lot of people interpret that as you being willfully ignorant, of saying you're not realizing what's at stake in this situation, when this just seems to be that same brand of like unbridled optimism that's sort of been the hallmark of the Dabo Swinney era in Clemson, right?
Golic and Wingo, weekdays at 6 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Redemption Thursday, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Got a do-it-yourself project that needs to be finished? Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, 1110 Stuckey Avenue in Tallahassee and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Online at ctf.nu.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hope you are well. Thanks for tuning to us. I got to stop doing this thing where I read the news in between segments of the show. It just serves as a major distraction and something that is incredibly depressing. But, you know, you like to, outside the realm of sport, let's say, because this is the field we work in. This is where, on a day-to-day basis, I spend a lot of my time in terms of gathering information and reading that information and then coming up with what I think are interesting talking points or opinions about that information. Because that's true, I've always been very aware that, okay, well, that's your job and that's what you do. And it's also an interest. It's things that you love. You better make sure you're keeping up with what's going on in the real world, per se. So I've always had the habit in the internet era of, okay, we go to commercial break. What's going on in the real world? What's happening in, whether you, like just going to Reuters, something like that. Just checking the world's news. What do we got? Dangerous to do that these days because it affects my mood in the show. I'm just like, if it's domestic, I look at that, I go, oh, that's depressing. Oh, that sucks. Oh, look at that. That's awful. Oh, good. The mother was able to deliver her baby before she died of COVID. Okay. Well, that's nice. Okay, then you go to the next story. Like these are the stories, And next thing I know, I hear the music. Oh, right. We got to snap back into this. We got to go. Let's go.
Yeah, the 4-year-old who needs chemotherapy, but he can't do it because he's got COVID.
Right. Great story. Yeah. That doesn't affect your mood as you move forward. And then you go, Okay, well, wonder if Mike Arnold's going to be effective this year. It's just damn difficult, Those are the things. I mean, I know, woe is me. I'm just saying I got to stop doing that. I got to stay here.
Well,
I got to stay between these lines for now.
We've had some different times. I mean, remember the Boston Marathon bombing? We were on the air during that whole situation, and we had to provide news updates as things were available. But the idea was to try and do that, as a separate entity of the show, and then we would do the segments to give people kind of a break. The monthly university shootings that happen, we kind of have to just plow on and continue forward. But typically, when I log on to Twitter, I see 80% sports news and 20% news. That's the way I have the account set up.
You've set it up.
Well, because, and it's not, I've said forever, if Twitter was imploded tomorrow and it was not available to us anymore and we just had to go to websites, I'd be a lot happier for it. But you have to have like a news ticker.
Yeah, you
and
do.
Twitter is the sports news ticker of our times.
Yeah, it really does.
It's the Wire Report. So I need to make sure if something happens at 3:30, oh my God, O.J. Howard got traded, right? We need to be able to talk about it.
Right?
Or so-and-so got suspended. He won't be playing this Saturday against NC State. Ooh, that's a big deal. But you usually have 80-20 sports. And now the sports people aren't doing anything, so it's 80-20 news. It's not worth logging on to.
So here's a much more frivolous take on a non-important item, but that we like to engage in. I thought the Browns did a good job with their uniforms. The Bucs have won the offseason on uniforms. It's not even close, but the Browns did a good job embracing tradition, classic championship back long ago.
Long ago, yeah. I think they did the same thing. I think they get equal points for essentially going back to the best version of what they have, right?
Yeah, the Bucs did better though because man, those color rush for the Bucs are the only non-gaudy color rush uniforms we've seen. I mean, they are so. That's a 180 from the color rush they wore with Jameis. That red, putrid, nasty embarrassment.
I liked it.
I hated them. They were awful.
Outside of the numbers,
eyesores.
You could have fixed the numbers.
Couldn't stand them. These are so much better than those. These look gorgeous. These are regal. Mm-hmm. Just well done.
You can wear them 3 times this year. So
they should wear them all 3 times. Got to do it. As an aside, I will say that in these troubling times for sports advertising in general, those in media, and I'm not saying that like, oh, feel sorry for us. I'm saying just as an observation, we know that people have had to pull advertising nationally, regionally, locally. This is what happens when you don't have those discretionary dollars because your life's been turned upside down by the coronavirus.
And you're not an essential business.
Yes. And it's very difficult. And we get all that. I don't say all that to kind of explore what's been affected the most or how our industry's been hit, but rather trying to find valuable programming and wondering what's going to really hit it out of the ballpark and do really well for, say, our company, ESPN. That Sunday 9:00 reveal of the Last Dance is going to be must-see television. I don't know of anybody who's not going to watch that Sunday at 9:00, and I'm not doing it because I don't get any money out of this, but that thing looks incredible. The 10-part docuseries on Jordan and the Bulls in their final season, it looks awesome.
I'll be an hour late because we watch Westworld in my house and it comes on at Sunday at 9. But I'm going to watch it. And the cool thing is, too, did you see the announcement about the ESPN and ESPN2 feeds?
I did not.
So ESPN2 is going to bleep out F words. ESPN will not.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's just get it on.
And if you have kids and you want to watch it and you want to protect their little ears, then go to the Deuce.
Yeah.
But if you want to watch the real deal and you want to hear every word as it was intended.
Because you're a grown-up and your sensibilities aren't so fragile that you're easily offended by words. Yes.
Stick with ESPN.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Right now, you can get family dinners to go with curbside pickup at Gordo's North Side. That's right, all day, every day after 4 p.m. Please pay with a credit card. Bring your own pen to sign the receipt. And they want to thank you, and so do I, for supporting your local restaurants at a time where they need it most. By the way, I'm looking at these meals. Woo. First of all, give them a call, 850-727-5914. and order the, Tom, you want to help me out here? Because I don't think you want me doing this. Lechon asado.
Yeah. Lechon asado.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Arroz con pollo.
Arroz con pollo.
4 Cubans.
4 Cubans.
Pollo a la plancha.
Pollo a la plancha.
There you go. That's like beans and rice, right? With some plantains. Boom.
Well, the arroz con pollo is plantains and a chicken salad. Roast pork is the lechon asado.
GordosCubanFood.com. Ta-da!
Who's ready for the best wings in Tally and locally brewed beers? Hobbit American Grill is the place to be. They've been voted Tally's best wings again in 2018. Hobbit offers Bingo Mondays, happy hour all day Fridays with craft beers on tap from all the local breweries. And the Hobbit is your home for all the UFC fights with plenty of high-def TVs for everyone. Be on the lookout for the food truck coming soon with the best lip-smacking wings in town. Hobbit American Grill, celebrating 40 years of serving great food to great friends for good times. For info on their hours and 3 locations, visit them online at myhobbitonline.com.
While you can't believe everything on social media these days, you can believe it's possible to start a new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months from the comfort of your own home, even if you have 0 computer experience. Instead of waiting to see what happens when life gets back to normal, take control of your future now. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. Live online classes meet just twice a week. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Hi, I'm Jeff, founder of Which Superior Sandwiches, and I'm here to tell you about our signature witch, the Wicked. Why call it the Wicked? Some say it's wicked tasty, some say it's wicked large. One thing's for sure, with oven-roasted turkey, ham, pepperoni, roast beef, and bacon, as well as your choice of 3 cheeses, it definitely takes you from wicked hungry to wicked happy in just a few wicked good bites. Only at Which Superior Sandwiches.
On Wednesday, the Wicked is just $5. 5 meats, 3 cheeses, $5.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
I wrote this song with the great Don Colvin, and I'd like to dedicate it to the one and only Bobby Womack.
So, it doesn't make it any less sad, but you certainly scratch your head and think about where the mindset came from and how it devolved to this point. But several articles have now come out, and there is a NTSB report noting that, in essence, Roy Halladay was doing drug-induced airplane stunts when he crashed his plane recently and died in 2017. And they found high levels of amphetamines and other drugs in his system. 12 days prior to the crash that killed him, he flew his jet underneath the Skyway Bridge. Now, we're from down there. My parents currently live in Bradenton. I go over that bridge every time I go home.
Does it make you nervous at all going over that bridge?
No. The old Skyway when I was a kid made me nervous.
Yeah, the old one, yes.
The one that fell. That bridge was narrow and really high up. That was that bridge scared the heck out of me. This one doesn't. It's so massive, and it's so beautiful, actually, up the top there. It's wide enough, and the guardrails are big enough that my wife can't stand it. She hates it every time we go over that bridge. But I'm fine with it. I think it's beautiful. The only time I get nervous going over the Skyway Bridge is if it's particularly windy. And then I'm like, okay, I could do without these winds blowing my car, pushing my car to the left.
Yeah, we had to play a tournament my senior year of high school, and we had to go over it, and we were in one of those 18-passenger vans, which aren't all that stable.
No.
I didn't like that very much.
No, I wouldn't either. Any of those tall, skinny type cars, you're like, this could tip.
Top
this,
heavy?
Yeah, this ain't good. Yeah. But I go over the Skyway all the time now. When I go down to St. Pete to visit my grandmother, and if I'm staying with my parents or just visiting them with the family, we go over the Skyway Bridge back and forth all the time because I spend a lot of my time when I go visit friends and family traversing between St. Petersburg and Bradenton, and you got to go over that bridge every time. Plus, it's a fun memory. The Skyway Bridge, where I grew up in the Pink Streets, as they were known, because the streets were literally pink. It's a historic neighborhood on Pinellas Point Drive. And at the end of my street, which was Manor Way, if you go all the way down, you have the Gulf, you have the water, and directly out from there, you could just sit on the rocks and look at the Skyway Bridge. It was just, you could just see it, and it was gorgeous. So anytime I go over the bridge, I see that view from the bridge looking back towards that little inlet and I know specifically where to look. And I'm like, that's my neighborhood. And it's nostalgic for me, so I always enjoy the process. But I say all of that to say this. If you, and those of you listening, and you can certainly Google the picture, if you know anything about the Skyway Bridge, while it is tall and it is a big bridge and it is high in the air, it is not something you'd want to fly a plane under. In fact, it's illegal to do so. And there's not a lot of room for, a plane. But my man did it. And he told his dad about it, and his dad's a pilot. Roy Halladay's dad was a pilot, and his dad was like, no, what are you doing? He could have been arrested had anybody bore witness to it in a way that they could correctly identify the plane to authorities and called it in. And you most certainly would call that in. Some ass is flying his plane under the Skyway Bridge. You're endangering lives, not just your own, but anybody on the bridge. And so it's hard to wrap your mind around a mindset that features a guy using a dangerous mix of drugs, including morphine and amphetamines, while doing acrobatics in his sport plane over the Gulf of Mexico. The National Transportation Safety Board basically came out and said in the 13-page report that Roy Halladay had 10 times the generally recommended level of amphetamines in his system, as well as having an antidepressant, a muscle relaxer, a sleep aid, and morphine, and opioid pain medications. All of this mixed when he flew his plane into the water. Now, witnesses said that they had seen him do this before, that they didn't know it was Roy Halladay, but that there had been a man who had done stunts with his plane before, and he would come down and almost like, do a circle and then try to get as low to the water as he could before pulling up.
Yeah, to kick some water up.
Yeah. Which is asinine on so many levels, let alone if you're doing it while high as a kite. He was 40 years old, had bought the plane a month earlier. He died of blunt force trauma and drowning, so he was alive when he hit. He got to drown for that. He was an avid pilot, and he enjoyed doing stunt maneuvers. He wrote about them in his journal, documenting many criminal acts about flying under bridges and doing all these kinds of things. He had what's known as an Icon A5. I know nothing about planes, but that apparently is considered kind of a sport jet. Days before his crash, he had flown under the Skyway Bridge, 180 vertical clearance over the water. A few days earlier, the report notes that he wrote on Twitter that flying the Icon A5 low over the water is like flying a fighter jet. So he's getting off on this idea that he was a fighter jet pilot. It's a two-seater with foldable wings and a parachute. It's marketed to pilots seeking weekend adventures and promises to, quote, bring exhilaration like never before. Well, indeed. During the last 2.5 minutes of Halladay's flight, he engaged in 3 low-flying maneuvers, swooping over the water, then climbing at a very high level before attacking again. Multiple witnesses in the area said they saw the plane flying low as 5 feet over the water. and close to the shoreline. Some witnesses reported that the airplane was making steep turns and high-pitched climbs up to 500 feet before rapidly declining again. On commercial fishermen, one commercial fisherman said that the airplane flew over his boat at less than just 200 feet. No, man. Now, you know how close 200 feet is when it's a plane? Can you imagine being in your boat and that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been pretty close to flyovers, standing on the roof of Doak Campbell.
Yeah.
And there are times where you go, woo, that's a little tight, man.
Seems a little tight, right? And that's nowhere close to 200 feet. Like, that's more like whatever that is, 700 feet, 500. I mean, so that's nuts. During its final move, Halliday's plane entered a steep climb, descended nose down before crashing into the water at a 45-degree angle. The plane was flying at 85 miles per hour. One thing that I thought about when I was reading this is how sad it is for his family. You know, I think the hardest part when I read this stuff is that he's got young kids, one of which I think is 9 years old. He's got a boy that's 9 years old, idolized his father, played catch, the whole thing. Wanted to be. It shows you the effect of drug addiction and poor mental health. He obviously had mental health issues, and he was seeking a way out. I read another report that said post his retirement, he had really struggled with life after baseball. He did have back pain. He had insomnia. He did report to his sister that he had bouts with depression, that he was feeling depressed. But I don't think to the extent that anybody really realized that it would go to. It's led people, and they don't know and they'll never know, but it's led people to speculate this was a suicide. This was him saying goodbye. This was
perhaps a subconscious suicide, though, right? Because I don't think he's trying to crash the plane actively, at least in his active mind.
I don't know. I just perhaps that's true. And if you're all drug-addled, it's hard to know what his perception was.
He wasn't all there.
No.
He wasn't even mostly there.
Yeah. But I would say this. When, I don't know if he had suicidal thoughts in the hours before or ideation or any of that stuff, but it sounds like when you read this story about the 2 practice runs, I don't know, man, I'd be inclined to think he was getting up the nerve. Either that or he just miscalculated terribly, but the plane is, practically straight up and down. I imagine if one was so inclined, you would figure it's quick. If you're worried.
Or he's just trying, he's going to pull up at the last second.
Or if it's, like I would always think that, and I don't know the details here, but insurance purposes, would
he's got to have money beyond money, though, right?
You would think. I don't, yeah. I don't know that situation, but I know that NTSB report, if you read more of it, those findings are pretty damning regarding his behavior. Stunts and drugs and endangering a lot of other people.
That's the thing that I keep coming back to. I feel terrible for his family and his kids. Don't get me wrong, but I'm thankful that it happened the way it did, rather than him.
Just him. Yeah.
Taking hundreds of lives, or even just crashing into a commercial fishing boat or something along those lines. If this is the way it's going to end, this is the best way it could end.
He didn't kill anybody
else. You
else.
hit the Skyway. Are you kidding me? You hit the sky. That's a horror movie beyond a personal tragedy.
He was 40 years old. And, by all accounts, beloved by teammates and people in organizations that he played for. Everybody thought very highly of him. I'm not trying to besmirch the man's reputation, but obviously this is the finding, and he had clearly really been struggling. At 40 years old, you don't go out and buy a sport plane and then proceed to endanger yourself on a regular basis by engaging in very, very risky behavior, flying under bridges and so forth, and that close to the water, unless you've got real issues. Thrill seekers and adrenaline junkies and so forth, there's a right way to do that. You can do that. You can jump out of a plane legally. You can do all those things. You can go on rock climbing expeditions with experts and all that with the proper gear. And you can find your thrills and do it the right way and not mix in danger to everybody else along with prescription drugs. Who in the hell has amphetamines, morphine, antidepressants, muscle relaxants? It's illegal to fly on muscle relaxants. Relaxers.
I can see why, having been on muscle relaxers for the old costochondritis.
I've never been on them. They sound wonderful.
Well, maybe if you're looking for numbness, yeah. But I'm telling you,
you just don't feel anything.
No, it could make you very easily throw up. I didn't.
Oh.
But, the idea of, whiplash.
Mm-hmm.
You could move your head. I could tilt my head back for sleep, and the world would not stop spinning.
Really?
Oh, buddy.
Oh,
It was no good. It was no good. It was like a tranquilizer.
Well, yeah, he had muscle relaxants, antidepressants, a sleep aid. You're also not allowed to fly on sleep aids, obviously. And it's strongly encouraged, not that one would need the fine print, that you don't fly well on morphine.
That's where I have a hard time speculating on whether he wanted to end it all or not, because the moment that you're on this cocktail of stuff, you could be thinking that you're on Mars. Who knows?
Or you take that cocktail of stuff so that you do.
I get it.
Yeah, we'll never know.
He seemed to to me, if I had to guess, he's trying to chase the thrill of pitching a playoff game in Philadelphia, throwing a no-hitter again, because he'll never feel it again, and he can't live with it. If you're going to ask me to deep dive and guess.
Could be a lot of things. That's what could have led to the depression, too, is that he knows he'll never feel that again. And nothing he tries works. Yeah, we could all play amateur psychologist here. I'm doing that now, admittedly. Morphine? We're on morphine over here? Okay. I mean, a lot of guys have chased away the demons and certainly temporarily checked out and not engaged in the, give me some morphine. I mean, holy moly, you got no chance.
Well, you think about all the conversations and, for lack of a better term, personal drug trials you've undergone before you get to morphine. I don't think you start at morphine.
Correct.
So that's years of leading up to.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned back pain as a player, and you always wonder now, because we've heard so many horror stories, Brett Favre and so many others, that the addiction starts innocently enough, that you're in a lot of pain, you want to play, you want to be there for your teammates, you feel a lot of pressure because you have a lot of money. It's interesting, a lot of money on the line. Chris Sale had a really fascinating Q&A with the press during spring training, and I came away from watching that press conference feeling terrible for him. Because I could tell how personal he took not being able to pitch at 100% after signing that contract. And it was strange. I mean, he got choked up talking about it. He said, you'll never feel worse than when a team shows they believe in you and they give you that kind of money and they pay you that contract because they trust that you're not going to let them down, that you're going to go do what you're paid to do, and then you can't. And you let them down and you don't perform. Nothing feels worse than that. And as he's talking about it, he gets choked up. I thought, wow, that's one of those guys feels things real personally there. That's like, I mean, you're hurt, dude. It's not your fault, but
who would have thought Chris Sale could get hurt with that throwing motion?
Man, when he's right, though, he's evil, obviously. And I'm like, Chris, you haven't been completely ineffective. You did come in relief. You did do some things to help your team.
It's just that, if anybody was ever a candidate for having their arm just completely come off their body as they're throwing a baseball, it'd be Chris Sale with that elbow motion. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I feel the same way all the time about your boy in Washington, but Strasburg has figured out. I'm like, when I watch, how do you do that? Good God. Your elbow's
he developed into everything that MLB Network purported him to be when they showed him at 19 years old.
Well, there's no doubt. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Tallahassee's tastiest jumbo wings are back in force. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is now open daily from 4 to 9 p.m. for all your takeout needs. Enjoy an all-day, everyday special of 10 wings and a basket of fries for just $10. Plus, have the Corner Pocket make you a signature to-go beer or liquor beverage as well. Red Russians, anybody? Just call 574-2724 for your wing order today. That's 574-2724 for the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Or to stop by and order in person, please use the outdoor deck. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Time to head to Cabo's. Cabo's lunch deal menu features soup and salad, the ultimate wet supreme burrito, a quarter-pound cheeseburger, taco salad, and many more. All include tea or coffee and are just $8.79. Cabo's Island Grill and Bar, located in the Appalachian Parkway Shopping Center.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
planning on expanding or renovating your home or business? Did you know that these construction projects start with preliminary work such as professional sets of drawings and proper engineering? Before you apply for financing or sign a lease agreement, allow our team of contractors, architects, and engineers to assist you with planning and budgeting. Hello, I'm Travis, owner of T-Spark Enterprises, and I am here because we want your project to launch on the right foot. Call us today and we will take care of your construction needs. We aim to provide work that will exceed your expectations, guaranteeing picture-perfect results.
Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CGC 1525336.
Did you just get an Amazon Echo? Pretty neat, huh? Now you can find us on there. Just say, Alexa, enable ESPN Radio Tallahassee. Once you've enabled our skill, you can listen to us anytime you want. Simply say, Alexa, play ESPN Radio Tallahassee.
Golic and Wingo.
Wait, here's a real question. How often do you guys wash your sheets?
You're supposed to wash your sheets?
Like, that's my thought. It's like
That's terrifying.
Mine's like once every few months, hopefully.
Yeah, I think we wash our sheets like a couple times a week.
A couple times a week?
Yeah.
A couple times a week. Like in the same week, you would wash your sheets multiple times.
Sometimes.
Now, I know you're not doing it.
No, but sometimes we collectively do that.
I got into a heated debate with a bunch of people in a group chat about that, so I was
How
curious.
long it happens or how often it should happen?
How often I want to know how often in real life people wash their sheets. So at Golic and Wingo, how often do you wash your sheets?
Now I need to know what were the hot takes in this text stream. Like, what were the
Some people wash them weekly. Others of us who live in normal life hopefully wash them every couple of months.
I got a couple of months. I would venture to say we wash them once a week or once every 2 weeks. That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds. Once every 2 months.
Maybe. I got a nice quarterly washing.
Golic and Wingo, weekdays at 6 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Redemption Thursday, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Got a do-it-yourself project that needs to be finished? Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, 1110 Stuckey Avenue in Tallahassee and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Online at ctf.nu.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning into it. You know, in one day yesterday, I guess I'll say that what we ended up having was the drastic distance between opinions on what we think is going to happen come the fall. I read one article that was sure that we would get started on time in college football in August, and I still just don't know how that's going to happen, but I really would like to embrace that view and believe that it will. I guess I do have a clue as to how it would happen. It would happen if we have a test, a wide, pervasive, easy-to-access test that gives quick results.
Yeah, 15-minute feedback is that's the talking point for the antibody test, right? That MLB has said that they contribute 10,000 people to if they agree to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that would be the whole. That's how that could happen. But either way, then I read that there were people saying beware of all of these positive prognosticators because as of right now, many of the people who are saying that are those that A, want to see it happen, need to see it happen financially, but aren't necessarily the decision makers when you talk about. Well, you go to the highest level in government, you can go to the governor, and you can go from there to obviously the experts within these fields. Then you get to presidents and chancellors and all that and athletic directors. It's a long ways before you get to the coaches who are actively stating things are going to go back to normal come August, right? I mean, that's a lot of decision makers that have to come to a conclusion and agree on that conclusion.
Well, I think, it all starts with the states, right? The 50 states, and every governor is the most powerful person when it comes to opening things back up within each state. And to have them all agree will be impossible because different states are going to be experiencing different things.
That's correct. Like if you live in a state like Michigan where you have the third highest number of cases, maybe you're not ready anytime soon for Michigan football. Whereas if you are in, and pick another state where they're less affected or further along in the process, they may be ready to go. But
Oklahoma is experiencing something fundamentally different than Texas even.
So you've got to get everybody on the same page because so many of these teams require each other, of course, to play a game. And you can't have half the, if for lack of a better term, half of the Power Five starting football and the other half going, there's no chance in hell.
Right. Well, and it seems to me the chain of command goes from governor to conference commissioner to university president. I think that would be fair, right?
Yeah. Well, and in between all of that, I would throw in the real decision makers, which are those that are experts within the field. I'm talking about experts on the pandemic.
Well, they're the ones who are going to be leaned on, hopefully, in order to make the choices. But what I'm saying is who has the power to allow an institution to play? Well, the president could want it to happen, meaning John Thrasher. And the conference commissioner, John Swofford, could want that to happen.
Correct.
Clearly he does if the ACC basketball tournament is any indicator. But if the governor of Florida or the governor of, say, North Carolina, their favorite state, says no way, no how, well, Swofford can cry up and down and stomp up and down the room, and so could the president of Duke and North Carolina, and it wouldn't matter. Because the governor, especially in the case of UNC Chapel Hill, I do believe that's a public institution, right? Duke is private, so I suppose they can do what they want.
Right.
But if you're a state university and the governor says no, you can't do anything about it. So you got to have everybody on the same page.
Well, and there's a lot that's involved in getting the engine cranked back up. You think about the younger players right now that aren't getting the reps, and the mental reps can only go so far. You got to have the physical reps. Those things aren't happening. You've got, in some cases, like at Florida State, a new staff learning how to work together. These are the kinds of obstacles they're going to be facing when we do get started, having to overcome all of these other things. You have the disrupted summer conditioning and all that other stuff that we've talked about. Everybody's going to be ready at a different time, and then you factor in the actual prudence of moving forward and in mass at 80,000 plus into a stadium that you're trying to reach a consensus on. And I just think there's a lot in the way of both decision makers and things that have to happen before that ever comes to be.
I just think, okay, if you wanted to start football.
Now, maybe you can. If in the next week, Tom,
yeah,
they announce a test that everybody has access to across the country, right?
Right, the supply chain would actually come through this time.
Right,
yes.
A readily available test.
Yeah.
Well, then, yes, here we are in April. I could see a scenario where you work out the kinks and that sort of thing, and it becomes all that much more streamlined, and we're able to proceed in August. Sure, college campuses, universities are going to want students back on campus. It would behoove them to be able to do so.
Well, of course they do. And
Yes.
just as much as college commissioners, right, want sports back, and football specifically because it drives the financial bus. Yeah, man, university presidents, they need revenue.
Yes, indeed.
And
Everybody
not just
needs that, yes.
from the tuition, from the dorms, from out-of-state students, if
Of course, if
still
you're
want
out
to
of
do
state,
it.
you're not going to just take courses online and pay out-of-state fees to do it. That's dumb.
No. So, but that's the thing. There's two different conversations, and I saw David Cutcliffe reference this earlier in the week. But if you say that, all right, as Florida State and as most colleges, universities around the country, we're going to have online learning for the fall semester, right? We're not going to have physical presence on campus from our students until January. I know. Just hear me out. You could get out in front of that perhaps if you are aggressive from a PR standpoint and say, okay, what this affords us for football players or high caliber athletes is we have a whole campus and nobody's living on it. We can separate everybody as to the distance and then some with all the dormitories that we have. We could have a quarantine dormitory. We could set up dormitories for support staff, for chefs, for graduate assistants, for academic liaison personnel. You could set up a little bubble within the campus if you know for a fact that courses aren't going to start until January.
The optics of this are still terrible.
They are terrible.
They are terrible, Tom.
But they're worth it, is what I think a lot of people who could use the money, including the universities, would say. I'd say, yeah, I know, buddy. I'm in total agreement with you. We've hated on the amateur nature of football specifically for years and years and years.
It's a PR nightmare waiting to happen. You are going to endure the first time somebody gets sick. I just don't think they'll do it.
If you have testing that's available and you could test everybody on a weekly basis or God forbid a daily basis.
If you can do that, then let's just get the students back on campus.
That would be option 2 that I was bringing up earlier, which is I'm far more interested in seeing what the universities do from that standpoint of getting kids on campus and relaunching in-person courses.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's a great indicator of 2 things, whether or not college sports will be coming back on time, where the economy is. Like, if you look at universities, because that's a gathering, like we're worried about stadiums being full.
Oh, sure.
How about campuses?
Yeah, campuses are first and foremost. There,
and dorms.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're living there. You don't go to a thing for 3 hours and go away.
Right.
You're stuck.
You're stuck there, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if they do get back to playing actual football, I was on a show today as a guest. They were previewing sort of the Atlantic Division, and it was Bishop and Laurinaitis. Bo Bishop, many of you may remember from his time here in Tallahassee. Anyhow, I went on with them, and we were talking about the Atlantic Division, and, they, A, kind of talked about how did we get to here, and then, B, how far away is Florida State removed from being able to compete with Clemson, and is Norvell, big broad-based questions, is Norvell the right guy? Is he the right fit? And I said, well, it's kind of hard to know that right now, given the fact that they had 3 practices. I believe in how organized he is, how young and aggressive he is, and how focused and intense he is. I think work ethic is certainly there. I think game plan in terms of having one is in place. People pulling in the same direction, all that's there. But I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen him coach a game yet. We don't know. I mean, how soon is that buy-in complete? How soon is it that the team not only buys in but is able to execute? Because you're missing out on days in which you can install. You have all these things. I already mentioned some of the problems and the challenges facing them. You have a new staff, which is an extra challenge on top of all of this other stuff that we're talking about. But the missing of the summer workouts and players not getting their reps, like practice reps are a big deal. You can mental rep things all day long. You can have Zoom meetings every day, and you can do those things. You got to go out and play. You got to go out and execute the game plan. I'm talking about defensively. I can know where I'm supposed to be and how to do it, but it feels different when you have to execute it physically.
Yeah, I heard something interesting. Nick Saban was interviewed by Stephen A. because Nick Saban's doing a detail ESPN Plus thing,
right?
Studying Tua's game, and I think he's weighing in on other stuff as well. But anyway, he was forced to do an interview as part of the deal, clearly. But he's doing an interview with Stephen A. from his office, and he said something in passing that I found interesting, and maybe the next time we get Norvell on. He said 4 hours a week. They have 4 hours a week they're allowed to deal with their players for football.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
That's a lot, actually. I think if you're just talking about football and showing them stuff in regards to I'm on my Zoom, you're on your Zoom.
Yeah, it's almost like when the training wheels come off the bike and you're holding the back. I'm sure you did this for both of your sons.
Yeah.
That's probably what that hour is like 4 times a week. You're like, all righty, now pedal. I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Now go pedal, please.
Yeah.
Take heed. Well, but you can't do the actual instruction stuff. You can't do much more than a brief meeting and a setting of the table, I would think. Almost like a syllabus is being handed out.
Well, and how quickly those guys take it upon themselves to work intensely and intently and to have meaningful reps on their own as much as you can.
That's what I'm saying. Pedal. You got to do it, man. My hands are off the bike.
I can't. Yeah. How quickly do you get a team to do that when you can't watch them? When you can't be there to see them?
Well, that's something. Okay, this is like a larger talking point. Mm-hmm. It's oversight for kids. That's true for kids that are in elementary school, middle school, high school, and now at the university level, college athletes or not. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, here you go. You're supposed to have oversight. You're supposed to have instruction, but we are limited in what we can provide you. So you have to be self-sufficient in a way that's completely unfair to you.
And it's going to fail in a lot of cases. You're going to see kids who don't learn that way effectively, who struggle with that, who need the face-to-face, for lack of a better term, hands-on approach to teaching and learning. I hate it. I hate it for all of these kids that are social butterflies who like the interaction, who get more from it by being there in person, forced to focus because When you walk through the doors of a classroom, you know what you're there to do. Sometimes just the act of doing that shifts your thought process. You go from wherever you're at in your head in the moment when you're goofing off with your friends or you're in the dorm or whatever it is to, okay, I'm here for the next 50 minutes to learn this. I got to pay attention. I got to write. I got to make sure I take good and copious amounts of notes and figure out where we're at with this. And I can do it because I have a switch I turn on when I get into a classroom and I'm sitting in front of a professor. But it's not that switch isn't turned on when I'm looking at my computer.
Right. And if you were quarantined to the town you live in, I'd say go to a coffee shop. But you can't do that.
You can't do that.
It's like, congratulations, here's your deck.
Yeah. No, it sucks.
It's 92. Not today, though. Today's gorgeous.
No, yeah. It sucks. It's awful. Everything about it. I'm watching it with my own kids. One kid's doing fine with it. The other one hates it. It's just not how he learns. It's not what he likes. It's he can sense that it's all wrong. He's pretty intuitive, and he says to me, they're not giving us grades. They can't. Dad, they can't. They're going to give us pass or fail, and I'll pass if I just look at it. I'm like, what am I going to do? He's not wrong, but that's a terrible attitude towards learning.
But unfortunately, that lesson that he would have to learn at 18 or 19 when he's in college, he's got to learn way sooner than he's prepared to do it.
Yeah, he's not emotionally prepared
and
to
so
do
how
that.
do you do it? How do you teach it?
It's tough. And there are kids in college who aren't emotionally prepared for that.
They need somebody to ride everything that they do.
As for the on-the-field product, how quickly does Florida State get there? I thought this year was going to be an awful lot about the effectiveness of this coaching staff working together and not only getting kids to buy in, believe in each other, take some ownership. This season would have been that, or could still be that, but it is altered. And as far as competing, you're not competing with Clemson. That's not, you're not competing with Clemson. Good luck. You're not. That's not your goal. Your goal is to be better than Louisville in the Atlantic, because I think that's the next team you're competing with. And then from there, are you as good or better than everybody in the Coastal? And I think the answer could be, yeah, you should be right there. Pitt's going to have a juggernaut of a defensive line, but offensively they're challenged. So maybe you offset some of the advantages they have on the defensive side of the ball to where you'd be their equal. I don't trust Virginia Tech, Miami, Duke, North Carolina, Georgia Tech. I don't trust those teams. Yeah. So, Carolina looked like they took a big step in the right direction. Certainly not infallible, though. North Carolina still did end up losing, 6 games? It's not like they won 10 games. They're still ways off, so.
I was just thinking back on, the good days, and Jimbo would point to this often about accountability and how the program kind of ran itself. And he had a lot of help in that regard. It wasn't just the fact that he had Jameis. When Telvin Smith comes to your dorm or apartment and pounds on the door, that's different than Telvin Smith trying to FaceTime you when you're not doing your workouts.
Without question.
You can hit ignore on the FaceTime if you're in a different part of the country because the Telvin Smith of your time is living in Florida and you're in, the mid-Atlantic. But if he's knocking on your door, you best open the door because that guy's liable to kick it open and beat the crap out of you for not getting out to summer workouts. It's different. It's so much easier to shut it away more than just the coaches. If there's a player on this roster who's trying to take ownership and it's like, James Blackman's calling me. I don't give a damn that James Blackman's calling me. I'll do my workouts when I know that we're coming back and playing sports. Well, shoot. How do you reach that kid? You can't. They've got to be able to do it on their own. That sucks.
Yeah, it's an awful set of circumstances that leave us in limbo, and speculation is all we have on a day-to-day basis. And I hate living in that world because there's so many hypotheticals and so many unknowns, so many times that you're left just to say, and it's especially not a effective form of communication when you're a sports talk radio host or a radio host of any kind. Coming to the conclusion that I don't know is very frustrating. You could be wrong if you state it with some certainty and emphatically, but the I don't know, well, what the hell is that? Anybody can turn on a mic and say, I don't know. And that's kind of where we're at, though, because we just don't know. And Ira and I talked about this on some of the headlines Tuesday. He seems to think everything will be back to square, where it should be by August. Even if I disagree with that, I can't sit there and vehemently argue with him. I don't know.
Well, there's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
You know, there's the moral layer to it, right? Or ethical. Put it ethical. How about let's put it in that camp.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the functional. That's where we're going to go for the next month or two. Is we're going to argue ethics versus functionality. You know, is Ira saying that it should be that way, or is he saying that it has to be that way?
We didn't explore that further, but I think that probably he derives that from talking to people in college athletics who say that, look, financially, or he could have talked to boosters, could have talked to, I don't know, he could have talked to the athletic director. I have no idea. But financially, I know they need these games to be played. I know a season has to happen.
Well, I know that these dorms need to be filled because
Correct.
these courses have to be taken. Yeah.
But the commissioners for the 10 major college football conferences, plus Notre Dame, athletic director Jack Swarbrick, they met with the vice president via a teleconference yesterday. And all of that was to discuss the return of college sports in the fall. So those 11, if you will, comprise the College Football Playoff Management Committee, right? They reportedly told the vice president in return from the COVID-19 shutdown that it would not be possible, unless students were back on campus. So they now recognize the PR nightmare and the optics and how horrific that looks. So they're all saying, yeah, as much as we may need it, as much as we may want to, some of us more than others are willing to take risks, etc. We do recognize it just can't happen unless the general student population is back on campus. So,
which is probably where the dominoes fall and the argument becomes there won't be college football games that don't have full stands, or at least
that is where
maybe distancing within the stadium.
Yeah,
of some
maybe
kind.
it's half filled of some sort.
Right, yeah, half capacity.
Yeah, right.
But you got to allow people in the building because you wouldn't allow college kids on campuses
Correct.
without the provision that people could be in a stadium at the same time.
I actually don't even think you'll have half measures like that. I think you either will or you won't. You'll either have a full stadium of people who feel comfortable, as many want to buy tickets. Either it's open to everybody, potentially even filling it to capacity, or it's just not. I don't think you're going to do this thing where we're going to have 45,000 people come to the game. What are you doing?
Okay, so the question here, just personally, your opinion, does this situation, and let's just say that the gate is open, the gates are open, people can come in January. So we'll start the season in January.
We're starting in January now. Okay.
So let's start in January.
Mm-hmm.
There's no vaccine, but there's testing. Are you more apt to go to a game because you just need to see something with your own eyes, not on a television screen? Or are you less apt to go to a game, you personally?
Well, I love cold weather, Tom. So I think I'm apt to go to the game.
In the stands, no press box, no cop-out here.
Yeah, I think I'd be apt to go to the game. You just told me that there is a test, and I'm assuming that it's easily accessible.
There's testing, but there's no vaccine yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, there are a lot of things we don't have a vaccine for, but we have mitigators. We have things that we can take that help ease some of the symptoms and the path to wellness.
That doesn't exist. No drugs to lower it, but you have testing, and that's good enough for the country to say, all right, let's
that's
move
a different discussion, though, I will say, because when you read about the horror stories of those that have gone through it, including young people, that does give you pause. It's not the normal flu. It's a level of sickness that sticks with you and could have lasting impressions on your health. Your
on your brain. They're looking at it.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of things that are involved with this and the recovery of it.
They don't know that. I'm sorry. It's just very important to not put misinformation out there. They don't know, but they're looking to see if there are long-term effects to the brain.
Well, we certainly know about the scarring on the lungs and all of that. So yes, I think it would give people, well, a better question isn't what I would do. A better question is, what are the people going to do en masse? Because, again, you're talking about the financial implications. So the doors open up. How soon are people really going to feel anxious and excited to jump in a car and drive to your location to go put themselves potentially at risk to see a football game? How many of them can you get to do that? Or is it anywhere close to capacity? Because we know the money lost just from losing games and only having 60,000 or 50,000 people at these games. So you're still going to take a financial hit just because I don't think you're going to get a return to normal around here anytime soon. the program's not in a place to where people are anxious to get here to see it.
Right.
And so just from a win-loss standpoint, we've done damage to the brand. And then secondly, you throw this in.
Yeah, but maybe it makes people more desperate just to see their Knowles again because they miss them even more.
At what cost is the question everybody will ask themselves. And if you have a family, I don't know, Tom, that you're jumping in that car.
Well, and here's the thing, too, is what does the dollar mean? The dollar's going to be more valuable. There's going to be less of them out there. I mean, aren't things going to be more expensive in general? I would think so, right?
Yeah.
They might be priced the same, but there's just, like, you think about earnings. Think about different professions. College coaches, there's an easy one. You think that college football coaches are going to be making the same money, or are they going to have to take a pay cut that might be permanent? You might have to lower this thing across the board in order to generate some more money for the athletic departments.
It's crazy. And to follow up on that article, by the way, and some of the things that came out in that, in terms of what campuses are thinking about doing in the 11 different representatives, colleges are already beginning to cancel in-person summer classes. Of course, you have all of that, and you're weighing the possibility all in-person classes will be canceled until at least 2021. That's out there. That's being talked about, and if that happens, then no, you're not playing football until January. You're just not.
Well, the hard part too is that you're just talking about how many people will be able to spend money. The PPP program this morning, it's out of money. Well, it's not out of money. It's no more applicants are being accepted because the money is all accounted for. So, yeah.
I'd like to get back to the kinds of debates that center around what's reasonable to expect from a timeline standpoint. Florida State is in the same ballpark as Clemson on the field in football. Remember those days? Remember when we got into those debates about when that was possible or what's reasonable to expect? How many wins in year one is considered a good season? Is it about wins or is it about the product itself, the level of play, the buy-in?
Hey, maybe what this does, as insidious as this COVID situation is, maybe more kids from the state of Florida will go to Florida State instead of going to Georgia, instead of going to Clemson and Alabama, because this is drivable. That's not. And you want to stay closer to home coming out of a terrible situation. So maybe.
Preach it, Tom. Make it happen.
A small benefit.
Stay here, guys.
A small benefit. Maybe you retain kids in the state of Florida and they come here.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Not all law firms are equal, so here's why Fonville Lewis Mesher McConaughey was recently voted Tallahassee's best law firm. First, we only take real cases. If your car was barely bumped and you think you're going to get rich, we're not the firm for you. We limit our practice to serious cases with legitimate claims. Second, we only take cases involving real injuries. If you know you aren't hurt but think you can fool your way into a quick settlement, we're not the firm for you. We encourage our clients to heal up and get better, not sit on the couch and expect a windfall. Third, we don't want clients who are just in it for the money. If the very first thing you think of after getting hurt is calling pound something or other on your cell phone instead of calling 911, we're not the firm for you. Your health should always come first. And finally, we won't blow smoke about a big money outcome just to get your case. Other firms overpromise and underdeliver. Our only promise is that we'll work harder than anyone to get you the best result. Remember, the law firm you have representing you makes all the difference, so don't settle for less. Call Fonville Lewis Mesher McConaughey and let us put our reputation to work for you.
Hey, everybody, it's good news, and we could use some good news right about now. Getting family dinners to go with curbside pickup at Bumpa's, well, it's easy to do, and it's all day, every day. You're going to want to pay with a credit card, bring your own PIN to sign the receipt, and they want to thank you, so do I, for supporting your local restaurants when they need it most. By the way, if you call, it's 850-999-8652. And here's Rick Pitino to give you the menu items.
Pasta alla vodka. You get chicken, garlic bread, and it's a nice round price. Secondly, you got 20 wings. You got chicken fingers too, fries, onion rings on the side. Nice, also good for the family of 4. 2 racks of ribs with mac and cheese and broccoli. You could sub in some fries or rings if you want instead too, but those racks of ribs, absolutely delicious. Just beautiful.
Or you can order, Rick, from the regular menu. It's Bumpus349.com.
The whole shebang.
Come visit the new and exciting Hangar 38. This amazing place is for everyone listening right now. Practice your bowling skills, compete, and have fun. Whether you're a newbie, an all-star, or a beer frame champion, no matter how you roll, you'll find the best place to bowl is at Hangar 38. Hangar 38 is home to over 75 arcade games, so they're sure to have something for everyone. Zeppelin's at Hangar 38 is a premier full-service restaurant and sports bar, and it's also your place for birthday parties and company outings. Tallahassee, what are you waiting for? Come on out to Zeppelin's Hangar 38, 6668 Thomasville Road behind Walgreens.
Seminole headlines.
Kenny Chesney did go to East Tennessee State.
No kidding.
I'm all over it, buddy.
Studied advertising.
Look at me.
Was there in 1990. That's when he graduated.
Okay, obviously his life is good. Sitting on the porch or sitting on the beach, like when he's 70, I mean, is he going to look back and be proud of, like,
you talking about Kenny Chesney?
Yeah, his musical career. Like what the art he brought to the world.
So you think he'll feel guilty for stealing Jimmy Buffett's thing?
I'm just asking,
and then
putting a twang to
mimicking it.
But my question, I'm not saying it's.
I don't think he'll feel that guilty.
Will there be a pride? I'm not saying guilty, but like, will he be filled with pride? Like,
Not the way a real artist
I think Van
does.
Morrison or
right,
they're like feeling good about what
I
they
contributed to
society.
humanity. Yes, I did something that elevated us as a species.
Like, I'm wondering if
Kenny Chesney cannot say
but I'm
that.
wondering if he thinks he did, is what I'm asking.
I hope not. Like, if Jimmy Buffett knew he was garbage and just admitted
catchy tunes
and was like, I have a knack for writing these things.
I put the theme music to parties for
I that's what I do.
White people.
I'm not writing anything of any significance, but I did. I created an element that they're fun songs.
Fun time.
There's a place for that. There's nothing wrong with that.
As long as he accepts that and
correct.
He knows that.
As long as he doesn't think he's Bob Dylan,
exactly.
then I'm fine.
And I feel like Jimmy Buffett does. I wonder.
I
about
think he
Kenny
does
Chesney.
too.
Is he my tractor sexy guy?
I have no idea.
I think he's a
Pepsi commercial.
Don't act like you don't
They're
know.
all Pepsi commercials.
It was Kenny Chesney with "She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy."
So, do you think when he pinned that he thought?
Did he even write it?
Probably not. But do you think that if he wrote it, he thought, "This is right
moly.
up there"?
He did not.
Blowing in the wind.
He did not write it.
He did not write it.
Yeah.
No. But he put his personal touch to it.
I'm sure. The one that he stole from
It's
Jimmy
the 20th
Buffett.
anniversary of that tune, that Fine Ditty.
Is it really?
Yep.
Oh, you knew that, Jeff. We were just talking about it the other day at lunch.
I was like, can you believe it's been 20 years since the
my
masterpiece
sexy tractor?
She thinks my tractor's sexy.
Whatever it is.
She thinks my tractor's sexy.
Once
really
a week, I
turns
go
me
into
on.
a dark
Or it
room
really
and I
turns her
sit
on.
back and listen to the lyrics of that classic.
Yeah.
She's always staring
That's like
at
the
me
blowing in the wind of the 90s.
when I'm chugging along.
Yeah.
It's like The Weight.
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's a little
lot
bit like
The
The Weight. Yeah, it's a lot like that.
Tuesday night on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio. WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Redemption Thursday, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Got a do-it-yourself project that needs to be finished? Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, 1110 Stuckey Avenue in Tallahassee and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Online at ctf.nu.
Interrupting all programs. This is a radio crash on Pirate Satellite.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Thanks for tuning to it. I hope this finds you in good spirits. I understand if it doesn't, maybe we can do our part to help lift those spirits. Hey, come on aboard here. We got a good hour for you. We've had a good show so far. This hour going to be fun because we get a chance to talk with Mike Martin Jr., the head baseball coach at Florida State University, about what they're dealing with a season shortened. Questions about Major League Baseball's draft, how many rounds, scholarships, what's available, what's not, what are they going to do proceeding into next year, all that good stuff. So that's coming up here in mere moments. In fact, I'll get out of the way pretty quick here in this opening segment in order to make way for Mike, because we tend to have pretty meaty conversations. Oh, hey, look at that there. Look at that. Boo. You can email us if you like, jcs at 979espnradio.com. You may want to after that. On Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show, the WTSM app, good for your mobile devices. And we do post the show all 3 hours, in fact, on YouTube, but with no video, just what do we even show? Do we just show the logo of the station?
Yeah, it's the station logo.
Station logo with our audio. So if you listen that way, you still can. That's the whole point of that.
So when you use the meat pun, it reminded me of something. I looked for this in my email. I sent it to myself years ago, and I still cannot find it. And it's a clip of Millar reading a spot for a sandwich shop in town. And the first line is, looking for something big and meaty?
No.
And Millar read it so well that I always wanted to have that as a token of the
Get
time
him
of
to
the
come
old
in
place.
here and do it. He'll do it.
It was so enthusiastic that I wish I still had it. But yeah, anyway, that's neither here nor there anymore.
Well, I'm looking forward to asking Meat what he thought about the direction of that team and where they were going, because I think they were good. They could pitch if they ever bothered to scoop it and maybe strike out a little less. They could have been elite, and they were headed in that direction. So I'm going to talk to them about that. But I'm also really curious what coaches are doing right now in all the sports in terms of preparation, what you can and can't do. And there's just so much that is unknown right now that you're stuck in a limbo. That's the, I think, overriding theme for all of us on a daily basis. We are stuck in limbo.
It's just so difficult because, specifically to baseball, he's got a crew now that all recruits, they all hit the road when they're allowed to. And you're about to reap the benefits of having 3 dudes hit the Southeast and go find college kids that are, or high school kids that are just good enough to be only college athletes and not go pro.
And a lot of that's changed anymore. It used to be, certainly it was an even tougher task. You had to find the guys that were good enough to be elite college players but weren't going to necessarily connect with or garner the attention of Major League Baseball. Nowadays, a lot of kids are opting into college baseball that wouldn't have before, that go on to become elite professional players.
But you've got partial scholarships that you already dole out on a percentage basis. I mean, you don't even have a whole number for scholarships. It's 11 and change, like 11.6, 11.8, whatever it is for a baseball program to hand out. Okay, well, that already sucks. Now double down and say that, seniors can come back next year, plus you've got incoming recruits, plus the Major League Baseball draft might be shrunk to a point where juniors might not even leave. Now you've got how many more kids on campus,
right,
and you've got how many scholarships relative to that. It's already going to be a smaller piece of the pie that kids get. I doubt that the scholarship count's going to go up to match the amount of people that are going to be here playing baseball for us.
These are the tough decisions that they're trying to figure out behind the scenes now. I can only imagine the number of conference calls and Zoom meetings that are happening between institutions and all of these conferences to figure out what the right number is and what the right play is. And you have disagreement on that, by the way, across the board. The Big Ten might think one way, ACC might think another. So it's a mess, and we'll talk to Mike Martin Jr. in just moments. Stay with us. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hey, everybody, it's good news, and we could use some good news right about now. Getting family dinners to go with curbside pickup at Bumpa's, well, it's easy to do, and it's all day, every day. You're going to want to pay with a credit card, bring your own PIN to sign the receipt, and they want to thank you, so do I, for supporting your local restaurants when they need it most. By the way, if you call, it's 850-999-8652. And here's Rick Pitino to give you the menu items.
Pasta alla vodka. You get chicken, garlic bread, and it's a nice round price. Secondly, you got 20 wings. You got chicken fingers too, fries, onion rings on the side. Nice, also good for the family of 4. 2 racks of ribs with mac and cheese and broccoli. You could sub in some fries or rings if you want instead too, but those racks of ribs, absolutely delicious. Just beautiful.
Or you can order, Rick, from the regular menu. It's Bumpus349.com.
The whole shebang. Not every law firm is the same. For example, you don't hire a divorce attorney to handle a foreclosure. The same goes for your insurance claim. Hire a firm that has the knowledge and experience in handling insurance matters. The Morgan Law Group is dedicated solely to this cause, fighting insurance claims that are underpaid, delayed, or denied. With offices throughout Florida, the Morgan Law Group covers claims for all hurricanes, storms, mold, fires, boats, and even sinkholes. Representing the policyholder, going after the insurance companies. The Morgan Law Group. Offices Miami, Orlando, Naples, and Panama City. Online at policyadvocate.com.
Not an employee or member of a law firm.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachian Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less. Oh, yes, you've thought about it, but now it's time to enjoy the moss-drenched live oak, rolling hills, and pristine greens of Southwood Golf Club. Our friends at Southwood Golf Club offer individual, family, and student memberships, and now offer the all-in membership. That's right, never pay a card fee when you play. Don't forget, at Southwood Golf Club, it's not just about the golf. Hit the clubhouse for brunch, or maybe enjoy trivia night, live music, happy hour, and all-you-can-eat night specials, too. For membership information or to join right now, just call 850-942-4653. Southwood Golf Club is ready to make you a member. 850-942-4653.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
You know, if there's a positive that's come out of the fallout from COVID-19, it's that the last game the University of Florida ever played in their stadium that is now being torn down was a 2-0 shutout defeat at the hands of Florida State University. And that is permanently in the record books. That will go nowhere. Years from now, when they go and they check the final game played, they'll see that they got their ass shut out, blanked at home, walked off the field, vanquished by an arch rival. It's a glorious thing. I sit around and think about that sometimes. If I want to smile, we welcome in Mike Martin Jr. He's the head coach of that Florida State baseball team. Hello, sir. How are you?
Doing fine, Jeff. I guess about like everybody. Got cabin fever, and you know, I'm think I'm going to do like a half marathon here in a little while. I mean, there's nothing else to do. I go out and jog, and you know, I'm getting that confidence that I might be able to. Actually, let's start with a 5K, and then
I was
we'll
going
go
to
from there.
I was about to ask you, can you run 3 miles?
Because not right now, but I'm getting there, Jeff.
You're getting there?
I can't. These old catcher's knees, they're barely hanging in. But it's basically my pace is a normal person's walk, so I don't go very fast.
You don't need to, man. You just got to keep going. That's the thing. Right. You just got to keep going. That's the whole thing. By the way, I never did ask you about catcher's knees. Every time I look at catchers, I think that's got to be the most – I've never caught a day in my life. I catch my kids when we go to the park. That's the extent of my catching. And even then, I sit on the bucket of balls. I'm not crouching down nothing. I'm sitting on the bucket. You know that look, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I've always wondered this. How hard is it to catch an entire baseball game? And I'm not talking about having to make throws and concentrate on your pitcher and all that other stuff. How hard is it on your knees to catch a game? And when did you finally get used to it to the point where you didn't even notice it?
Oh, gosh. Well, you know, I was taught by a man that, you know, said, look, if it doesn't feel like it should, it's because you're not doing it enough. So when I started getting into, you know, catching, because I couldn't run, that was the only place they could put me, behind the plate, because I was so slow. You know, I didn't watch TV, literally in a catcher's crouch.
Oh, wow.
To make it to where it was normal. I actually did that with Buster too, and all of our meetings and stuff. I'd make him, you know, when we started out the process of making him a catcher. You know, as far as a game, that's not that hard. the problem is when you're doing double headers and you're catching, 12 straight days. Day 11 and 12, that can those are a little rough. There's a lot of Advil going into the body.
I love the idea for people that don't know, and I sometimes forget that we go back as far as we do. I can remember talking to you about your efforts to get Buster Posey to play catcher. And I remember, because for people who don't know, Buster Posey could play every position, and several of them really well. If you're new to Florida State baseball, I mean, my man could close, my man could play shortstop. He had a game where he did like you did, Mike, right? Played every position, the whole deal. So that was Buster in a nutshell. He's a really good athlete, could really play. You loved his feet. I remember you telling me you loved his feet and that you thought he could be a natural catcher. And obviously that turned out to be 100% accurate. And that's got to be a cool thing. I know you don't sit around and boast about stuff like that, but I remember it was you. You were the catalyst for that. So when you first said to him, we want to make you a catcher, did he look at you cross-eyed?
It wasn't the most, affectionate look I've ever seen. But he said, look, I get it. If it's going to make us better, fine, and it was not hard at all. I mean, the guy was super talented and determined and everything else. He had no pre-existing bad habits. That's what's hard when it comes to, whether it's hitters or catchers or pitchers or whatever. They've been doing certain things the wrong way for so long, you can't get them out of that habit. So it was easy. And again, I get way too much credit for that. It was all him.
I'm curious about something, and I've noticed it as my kids get a little older and are playing, and you've had to encounter this your whole life, certainly professionally as you've become a coach. The amount of information there is and the amount of, teaching tools and philosophies that are out there when it comes to hitting, it's mind-boggling. I never thought about it, but like if you go see one hitting instructor, he'll tell you a set of things that are his core principles that he believes. And then you go see another guy, maybe accomplished, maybe successful, he's got another set that may run antithetical to the one that you just heard from the other coach. And then you've got still another guy and another guy and another guy who believe this is the right way. How do you do it? And how did you come up with your core principles of teaching hitting instruction?
Well, you're definitely correct. There's way too much stuff out there, and this guy's got it figured out, and this guy's got it figured out. Because it doesn't, from body type to the God-given talents that the kid has. I mean,
like bat speed, right?
Yeah, you can't clone guys when it comes to hitting. Because everybody's different. So that's our approach. Is look, let's see what they bring to the table and the pros and cons of it, and then we'll kind of tinker with it and come up with something that works for that particular hitter. And we have to do that all the time to hitters, meaning tell them, look, don't listen to what I say to this guy. Don't, because when you start getting into that, then it changes your mindset. Oh, I need to be doing this. No, you don't. You're not the same. You don't have that bat speed. You don't have this, that, and the other that your teammate has. So it is. And again, if somebody had the perfect formula, and I've said this for years, they would make Bill Gates look like a poor man.
Right.
And I truly believe that. There's different ways to skin a cat, whatever that saying is, and you can't get into that. And people that do that do a heck of a lot more harm than good.
I've always been intrigued by it, but I'm especially learning it now just watching my kids go through playing, Little League and all that stuff. Just listening to the amount of instruction. And Mike, I know you don't want to offend all the hitting instructors of the world out there, but boy, everybody's pretty sure they got a handle on it. I imagine you hear an awful how you don't have to name names. I don't expect you to. How often do you have to either talk a dad off the ledge, a hitting instructor that's been working with a kid for a long time, and obviously the kid's had a lot of success, and now he comes to Florida State, and you decide, well, I know that's worked for you in high school, but it's not going to work for you here when you're facing 90-plus on the regular. I'm going to do this. We're going to change this. How often do you not only have to convince the kid of that, but maybe his advisors, parents, et cetera?
Well, you make sure you've done that before you sign him. you know, when you watch a kid and you're saying, look, I'm going to have to change this, whether it's pitching mechanics, whether it's whatever, you make sure they know coming in, because that's a nightmare scenario.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
all of a sudden now, you know, and he doesn't want to do that. You just make sure before you sign him, hey, look, this is what, you know, I see, and this is what I'd like to do with you, and this is the plan, and whether it's changing positions or, you know, whatever, you just got to be upfront with them, because again, that's a bad situation when you have a couple of guys that are, you know, have a chip on their shoulder and it starts separating the team and stuff like that. So you just make sure you got that taken care of beforehand.
Have there ever been guys that were elite players that you recruited that you thought, yeah, I'd really like to do this, but they told you either through their dad or their hitting instructor, whoever it was, I'll sign with Florida State, but I'm not changing anything? And would you acquiesce to that? I imagine it has to do with the level of talent that we're considering here as to the answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few. There's not many. I mean, most kids are, you know, open, receptive to, you know, change, and you got to convince them sometimes. But sometimes we say that, and then I get them there, and I'm like, you know what? Now that I see you more, again, you know how hitters are. I could look great for a weekend, but it's just one of those things that you got to see so many at bats, and then sometimes you change your mind. You know, no, he can, you know, do this and get away with it. And you know, I remember Marshall McDougal. I remember it clear as day. Him and he'd bar that his right-handed hitter, so his left arm, he would bar that thing out, and you know,
right.
I was like, we're gonna have to change that, you know, and whatever. Well, he got here, and you know, sure enough, he could speed up, you know, higher velocity and still keep his hands in tight. So there's just a lot of different things that can come up, and the main thing is, you know, the honesty and being up front.
Talking with Mike Martin Jr., he's the head coach at Florida State University, where they're not playing baseball, and it's very, very frustrating. We'll get to some of that big picture stuff in a second. I am curious, going back to you catching, going back to your years in the game, what is the strangest thing an umpire has ever said to you or your dad?
Well, it'd be a lot of cuss words, that's
okay.
for sure.
They'd cuss at you?
Oh, yeah. Back in the day, I'd cuss right back at them.
Right.
Make sure we're getting pitches that we need to get. Oh, gosh. Strangest thing ever. I'll tell you a funny one. This is one of the funniest 11 stories ever. There was a guy named Ron Sebastian. I'll never forget him. He's about 5'1" and ornery old man, and you know, he'd been in the league for forever. We were at Georgia Tech, and he blew another call, and we're in the first base dugout. And, it was a call at first base, and Levin had been out, you know, to argue with him twice already. We're probably in the 7th or 8th inning. I will get the giggles because this is classic. And it's freezing cold, and I mean freezing cold. And Levin yells out, "Ron, you're so bad, I'm not even coming out. I'm not going to slow the game down. It's awful. All I ever do is run out because you never get a call right." He's like, "Just please, for the sake of the league, retire. Please, Ron, just retire." And Sebastian turns and looks in our dugout, you know, from his post behind first base, and he goes, "I'll retire when you retire." Next thing I know, 11 rips off his jacket. He starts taking off everything. He says, "I'm doing it. I'll retire right now for the sake of the league because you're that bad." He doesn't have a shirt on in the dugout. And I'm telling you what, our dugout was, you know, everybody had their hand over their face and try not to laugh. It was absolute riot. He said, "I'll retire when you." All right, I'll do it right now.
No, that's good. That is good.
He started to stomp out of the dugout like he was walking off the field and didn't have a shirt on. It was a classic.
I always wondered, your dad would walk to the mound, you know, it's well documented, very slowly, and we're all waiting. We know he's buying time, but also he would walk out there to talk to his pitchers if the umpire had been erratic and had blown some calls and he could see the frustration was mounting and he just wanted to go maybe calm him down and talk to him. But I always cracked up because I knew when the umpire came out to break it up that he was talking loud enough and saying any number of animated things while not looking at the umpire. Was that a frequent method to get the point across to umpires that this is a blank show?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He would go out to slow momentum. You know, most of the time if you ever watched him, he would say it when he started out.
Okay.
I'm going out, come out early, meaning don't sit there and, slow, because he wanted, say some things to him. And he would be staring, at a pitcher or one of the infielders or whatever. And he's like, I'm talking to you, whoever the umpire is, and he'd say whatever he needed to say. And, he would always preface it. The guys knew, the players knew when
what was going to happen. Yeah.
When this happens, look, don't listen to anything that I say. It's not going to affect your mindset. I'm just trying to, gain an edge or what have you. So don't, take it as something that's detrimental and the guy's out to get you and, the woe is me type, situation. So he was really good. And I tell you what, over the years, I'm pretty sure we got quite a few calls because Levin could play some mind games.
I love it. I would have had a hard time as a player not laughing. It's a little bit like watching a drill instructor screaming down a soldier and then you're in the line and you got to stay straight-faced. I'd have a difficult time doing that, especially if they hit him with something pretty unique. I am curious about this, and then we'll move on to other things. When you were catching, what's the funniest thing you ever said to a pitcher to calm him down?
Oh, it was
something you can repeat.
It was always, women. You'd go out and say, man, I'm telling you, right below the animals, section B, 2 rows down. Have you seen that blonde, or
Go
whatever?
Right. Yeah,
it was always something along those lines to get guys to just relax. And it was always the freshmen. I remember Charlie Cruz was so nervous. You remember Charlie, the little left-hander we had?
I do.
And I went out and said something to him. He's like, oh, my gosh, you're right. She is gorgeous. I said, yeah, all right, let's land that breaking ball and, think about her if you need to, but we gotta lock in right here. He's like, all right, got it.
I don't know how one has anything to do with the other, but if it works, it's great. It's whatever temporary distraction is necessary.
Yeah, breathe through your eyelids, right? Bull Durham.
Right. Breathe through your eyelids. All right, so catch us up. Where are you at, man? This is nuts. Obviously, you could have never envisioned, none of us could have. You're year number 1 as head coach at Florida State. Things are going pretty well. Obviously, I mentioned it at the outset of the interview there, which was that the final game now is, at least for Florida it was, is you guys going down to Gainesville, ending the losing streak. Good way to start your career as coach there, Mike. And then obviously you get the shutout to shut down the building. And then, just like that, this thing's over and it becomes a mess because you have so many folks wondering whether or not seniors are allowed to return and, what's going to happen with the draft and scholarships. And it's just catch us up. Where's your head at? And I guess, is there any news on that front?
And I'm going to go ahead and say it now just because I do. I apologize. But you're going to hear me say it all the time. I don't know. Nobody knows. I mean, it is a complete mess right now. We have a lot of, theories and people saying this. And, I heard from a higher up with Major League Baseball that it's only going to be 5 rounds. And then you'll hear 2 days later, no, it's going to be 10. And, we're not going to get the scholarship funding. And it's just nobody knows. I mean, really and truly, nobody knows. We're, constantly, running through different scenarios within my staff, which I've shut down. I said, look, guys, there's no sense in doing any of this. We thought we were smart and we were going to be ready. Okay, when we open back up, and we're going to do this and we're going to do this and, get all these different things. And next thing you know, that time comes, that April 1st comes. Nope, that didn't work. So there's no sense in having these, projection meetings, if you will.
It's weird. I was just thinking about all the factors that we're talking about here. I guess just, I'm wondering, currently you work with partial scholarships, correct?
Correct.
How did it work in the normal world of 2 months ago?
I couldn't hear you, Jeff. Say that again.
How did it work in the normal world of 2 months ago?
Well, you're thinking you're going to have a normal draft. And, okay, Reese Albert's gone and Elijah Cabell's gone and Nelson and, you're going through all the, everything like you figured it was going to be. And, now with the only 5-round draft, okay, well, what's going to happen there? Because my guys, some of them, I'm projecting from 5 to 10 or from 6 to 10.
Right.
So now they're not going to be drafted. And you're fielding calls. Parents are, oh, my gosh, wait a minute. My son's a center fielder or whatever. what's going to happen here if he's coming back. And I'm like, look, I don't know. That's all I keep saying to parents and players and recruits. I don't know, and nobody does. Just hold tight and keep yourself moving and stay on top of the your online classes.
I'm going to continue down this path. Part of this is I just want our listening audience to know, for contextual purposes, exactly what we're talking about here. How did you, and you don't have to name names, I don't expect you to do that, but how did you distribute the partial scholarships? Not specific names, but how do you calculate it?
Well, a lot of it depends on a lot of things, a lot of factors, if you will. Some people are more well off than others. You dig and you try to figure that out. And sometimes you say, look, I need some help here. I've only got 11.7. Let me, give you, you're a 50% guy, but let me give you 30% because you guys can, float it. And that will help me go get you a teammate that's going to, hit in front of you and get on base and, whatever the case may be. A lot of kids come in with bright futures. That helps a little bit. It doesn't help like it used to, but and then you start stacking, athletic money, academic money, and get it to where, people are comfortable with what they, what they're worth and, how they are financially. And you go from there. And then, of course, you got walk-ons. I mean, we had 4 walk-ons in the lineup this year, played every day that, are extremely beneficial. And they're good players. It's just, you think you got it figured out, and then the draft hits, and then you're like, holy cow, this isn't going to work. And, you got leftover money, or you don't have money, or you're tied up, and next thing you know, you need some help, and things are constantly fluid in this business.
So if the rosters expand and scholarships decrease or even stay the same, that's the world you're living in right now and trying to figure out.
Yeah, and that's the scary part. Is, I mean, if it goes to 10 rounds, okay, this guy's gone, this guy's gone, this guy's gone. All right, well, where are you now? And okay, well, if it's only 5 rounds, or, and here's the other thing, Jeff, are we really going to have a draft? If we're not going to play the Major League Baseball season,
right?
Why would you have a draft? That's on the table as well. There is no draft. I think we have a chance to have the best product of college baseball ever next year.
Right.
You know what I mean? We'll get through it. Somebody's going to figure out a cure or a vaccine. Somebody's smart enough out there, and we will have the most talented. It'll be a bloodbath. I mean, there'll be players everywhere. It'll be like watching AAA baseball.
Right.
I mean it.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about in terms of the incoming players. I know you were worried at one time that you might lose some of those guys. Now you think you'll lose none, right?
Yeah, I really feel like we'll keep every one of them.
It's a weird time. I know when we talked off the record, you're on conference calls, you're doing all those things. Everybody's in the same boat, I suppose. Is there any prevailing thought on when we'll get some clarity? Really, you probably can't, can you, until we get a handle on a vaccination or at least treatment that's more advanced?
Yeah, everything is just speculation. And I think the first thing that has to happen is they've got to say exactly how many rounds they're going and when that draft is going to take place. Nothing else can be done until that time comes. And, again, they're, trying to figure out when the curve's going to flatten and everything else, and they can't do anything at this point. And again, I don't know.
Circling back real quick, though, I do. You might know this. Would all players, and you're not to be blamed for not knowing, none of us know, would all players, not just seniors, be granted another year of eligibility, or will the freshmen, sophomores, say juniors, have to use a red shirt?
Well, see, that's the thing. When the NCAA came out and said they'll grant everybody another year, some of the conferences, and that's something else we got to figure out. Some of the conferences is whoa.
Right, the Big Ten said nay in some cases. I think Wisconsin did, right, and maybe some other schools I've heard.
Exactly, and then the conferences said no, this isn't for us to decide. Let the universities decide what they want to do. So you've got a situation now where there's a real good chance that some schools can afford it, and they'll grant them another year, and others won't. And then what? How is that fair? And how is, it's not an even playing field 2 years down the road. And it's a mess.
Were you enjoying it? Were you having fun in year one as the guy Was it living up to what you thought it would be? Was everything pretty much where you wanted to be? And I guess just assess what you did see, where you thought that team was going, what they could be. Obviously, they're good. You could really pitch it. I'm just your thoughts on what that team was going to be, because we'll never know.
Yeah, and it is. It's a shame because I'm not saying this. I'm a straight shooter, whatever.
Yeah.
I really thought we'd make a run at the whole thing because we were starting to play defense. Yes, we struck out way too much, but when you play defense and you pitch it, by the way, we pitched it as well as we did, and we didn't play defense. The last 3 games, we started playing defense. We won every one of them. We've lost whatever it was, 4, lost 5 total, 4 by 1 run, and the other one we had a lead in the 9th inning. And of course, errors. We were starting to figure it out, and I don't think people realize how good that staff was.
Oh, I thought it was incredible. I remember us coming in here, even when you guys were kicking it around. I said, "Well, if they ever start to pick up the baseball, they're going to be awfully hard to beat."
Exactly,
because
and
you
that's
guys
where we
really
were finally trending. We're starting to get some confidence. You know how confidence goes.
Yep,
it's everything that we do, and we started to get it, and the guys had bought in. It's just we just weren't performing, and once we started playing defense, I mean, we'd score runs. That wasn't an issue. I mean, sure, there was times we stunk and whatever, but when you start playing defense, and it goes along with the pitching, and it goes hand in hand. When you got that, you've always got a chance.
Yeah, from a pitching standpoint and just sheer entertainment and investment from an onlooker, I got to tell you that I know they didn't end the way that you wanted them to, but the 2 games against Texas Tech, that was some pro caliber stuff right there. That was something to watch.
That was, and obviously I have plenty of time on my hands. I go back and watch those. That was good stuff. And the guys they ran out, guys we ran out. It was heavyweight back and forth and exciting stuff.
I'm kind of curious, and I'll let you go here in a second, but people are going to forget that you did play another game after you beat Florida 2-0. You beat Illinois State 7-4, I think. But you when you went down to Gainesville, now look, you were a part of this thing as a player. Obviously, you're part of it as a coach and now the head man. Did you feel an added weight because there was a losing streak, because this thing had gotten funky? It was weird. I mean, losing streaks like that against anybody, let alone your arch rival, some of that's quirky. Some of that's just baseball being weird, and you had some games in there that you had no business losing that we fell apart on, whatever it is. But these things happen in the world of sport, especially baseball. But after a while, obviously you hear it from all corners. Everybody talked about it. Did you feel an added weight that night headed down there?
No, I didn't. You're so locked in on what the plan and the scouting report and stuff like that. And I'll pat myself on the back here because that Sunday right after that game, every time we were together, I told him, and I truly believed it, and I still believe it. I said, look, you're going to hear this and that, and we've lost X. Those teams have nothing to do with this team. You're better than they are. We're going to go down there and we're going to show it. Plain and simple. And I said it, as many times as we were together, where it's practice, getting off the bus, after, warm-ups and batting practice. I constantly, I said it because I truly believed it, because that was, this team was a good club.
Man, it just makes me angry. I can't imagine what it does for you, obviously. It's very frustrating, but hang in there. Appreciate you giving us a little insight and shedding some light on where it's at. It sounds like confusion and uncertainty rules the day, and being in limbo is not a lot of fun for anybody, and you coaches are all like that right about now, depending on the sport. Everybody's in kind of the same boat, but good talking to you, brother. Be well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as always. Stay safe.
All right, you too. Take care. That's Mike Martin Jr., head coach at Florida State. Yeah, he's talking about when they pasted Duke 10-2 on that Sunday, and then Tuesday they played Florida, had to go down to Gainesville, and he was saying they had just salvaged that one win in the Duke series. Those were 2 one-run losses, well-pitched games. Duke's actually good this year. This was, it's interesting to hear, to get a little insight as to what he said to his ball club before heading down to Gainesville, because I wondered about that. These things take on a life of their own. We've talked about this, where you have something that kind of spirals a little bit, and the next thing you know, you're on the wrong end of a long losing streak, and it's more of the focal point than the baseball. It's the bigger, larger than life. Like, this thing is living, breathing, this weight that's on you, but this albatross.
They were steely, though, and that is where he deserves to pat himself on the back. They didn't get flustered by a couple of things that could have really ballooned in their face. The fact that they didn't cash in with runners on second and third.
Yeah.
You've got an infield, nothing hit, or it might have been a blooper, I forget. But it wasn't a hard hit ball. Guys on second base, and now you're thinking, oh, boy,
here it goes.
we go
This
again.
is what happens, yeah.
But you could see it in the pitching specifically.
Ooh.
You've got
What for? A lot of what for?
A lot in the eyes. You could just see the look. It was different.
Reminded me of Alex Box. Reminded me of guys going out there and, you're in a ballpark that's historic against a program that's historic. Fans that are arguably the best in baseball. We were there. It's loud as hell.
Yeah.
You had every chance in the world to collapse and fall apart. Not only did you not, you came back in game one in a way that was unlikely. And then in game two, it's steely.
And I agree with you. Typically, one season doesn't carry over to the other. But you don't think that, the younger players on that team that went and won a super regional in Baton Rouge carry that confidence over year to year?
In particular, some of the arms that were on this team that did that and aided in that effort. Yeah, absolutely. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Right now, you can get family dinners to go with curbside pickup at Gordo's North Side. That's right, all day, every day after 4 p.m. Please pay with a credit card. Bring your own pen to sign the receipt. And they want to thank you, and so do I, for supporting your local restaurants at a time where they need it most. By the way, I'm looking at these meals. Woo. First of all, give them a call, 850-727-5914. In order of the, Tom, you want to help me out here? Because I don't think you want me doing this. Lechon Asado.
Yeah. Lechon asado.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Arroz con pollo.
Arroz con pollo.
4 Cubans.
4 Cubans.
Pollo a la plancha.
Pollo a la plancha.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's like beans and rice, right? With some plantains. Boom.
Well, the arroz con pollo is plantains and a chicken salad. Roast pork is the lechon asado.
GordosCubanFood.com. Ta-da!
This spring, I'm making Everyday Earth Day by incorporating small actions that can create big results.
Like what?
Well, I'm starting with daily habits, turning off the lights every time I leave a room, shutting off the tap when I brush my teeth, and unplugging electronics when I'm not using them.
Those are great ideas our whole family can do.
And since we're home more, I could also use your help with a few one-time projects that could benefit us long-term, like fixing water leaks and installing our rain barrel.
I'd love to help. Right after I call the City of Tallahassee Utilities at 891-4968 to sign up for paperless billing.
Excellent. Tonight, let's ask the kids if they have any ideas about what we can do to save energy, water, and money as we celebrate Earth Day at home.
2020 marks the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and there are many things TLH can do to celebrate at home. Get inspiration at TLHcando.com. Small actions create big results. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities.
Hi, I'm Jeff, founder of Which Superior Sandwiches, and I'm here to tell you about our signature witch, the Wicked. Why call it the Wicked? Some say it's wicked tasty, some say it's wicked large. One thing's for sure, with oven-roasted turkey, ham, pepperoni, roast beef, and bacon, as well as your choice of 3 cheeses, it definitely takes you from wicked hungry to wicked happy in just a few wicked good bites. Only at Which Superior Sandwiches.
On Wednesday, the Wicked is just $5. 5 meats, 3 cheeses, $5.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Redemption Thursday, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Got a do-it-yourself project that needs to be finished? Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, 1110 Stuckey Avenue in Tallahassee and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Online at ctf.nu.
PGA Tour announcing plans today to return in mid-June, Tom, with a revised slate of events through Thanksgiving, starting at the Charles Schwab Challenge. So your beloved Charles Schwab Challenge is going to be saved. The Fort Worth, Texas event is scheduled for my birthday. That's right. You guys remember my birthday is on June the 11th. June the 11th through the 14th. You got plenty of time to find whatever it is you want to surprise me with gift-wise.
49.
Ooh. I know. Yeah.
Will fans be in the stands before you're 50?
Yes. June 11th, my birthday, begins the Charles Schwab. That's assuming health and government officials allow it, considering the coronavirus pandemic, and would be played at Colonial Country Club with spectators. It has been rescheduled from its original date in May.
With spectators?
With spectators.
BS. That ain't happening.
In June? It could.
No way.
It's happening. Let's go. Here we go.
It'll be lucky if they play the tournament. No spectators.
If the ambitious schedule plays out, it would mean 24 consecutive weeks of golf heading to Thanksgiving, with a few weeks within a second event is played. The weeks in which major championships had previously been scheduled have been filled by PGA Tour events. The health and safety of all associated with the PGA Tour and our global community continues to be our number one priority, and our hope is to play a role responsibly in the world's return to enjoying the things we love, said PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan. Today's announcement is another positive step for our fans and players as we look toward the future. But as we've stressed on several occasions, we will resume competition only when, working closely with our tournament's partners and communities, it is considered safe to do so under the guidance of the leading public health authorities. So here's what I would caution these commissioners and folks who speak on behalf of entire tours in this case, or leagues in other cases. Merely making an announcement on when you intend to go forward with tournaments to be played is not in and of itself a positive step. It's just an announcement. Don't call it a positive step. Say that this is our intention, this is what we would like to do. Because the second you say it's a positive step, with the caveat that you don't know whether or not it's going to happen, and that really it sounds a little bit more like a pipe dream than anything else, you rescind the positivity you just put forth in the world. You just don't need to do that. You can say we're shooting for, ideally, if there's a vaccination, if there is a treatment mitigator, something, easily accessible testing, ideally, we'd like to start in mid-June. Okay, all right, you're hoping, I'm hoping, we're all hoping. But don't tell me this is a positive step as if it's set in stone. It's clearly not. You came right back immediately and said, yeah, we don't know. We don't really know if it's going to be considered safe by then, but that's when we plan on teeing off.
Yeah, that's the thing. And, testing is the best you can hope for at that point.
Which, if there is, I think people will be quick to jump back into the water. I think so. I think identifying people who are sick and getting them removed from the general population or in the fan base or the classroom or the office is very important.
This is where I wish cars could be synced in, and we're not too far off to that part of technology. Well, if you test positive, your car didn't work. No, sir.
Yeah, it's like,
not unless there's an emergency,
It's like people who have to blow into the thing because they've had 7 DUIs or something. they blow into that thing, like the car just doesn't start.
I know that it's an unsafe moment in the movie, but that's one of the best parts of 40-Year-Old Virgin is
that's right.
Ace in the passenger seat. Blow into this, please.
He's like, what? Yeah. The way the schedule's set up, the FedEx Cup playoffs will conclude with the Tour Championship on Labor Day weekend with the final round on September the 7th. That means the 2021 season would then begin the following week at the Safeway Championship, with the U.S. Open to follow. The next major would be the Masters in November, putting both majors in golf's 2021 season.
Right, yeah, the season would yield 2 Masters champions. That's just so weird in
It
a
is.
span of 5 months.
Yeah, it's really strange, isn't it?
I'd be happy to explore and see how it feels and looks, though.
It's just an awful lot of big-time major events, the focal point of which is usually spread out in such a way that you kind of mentally prepare. Now you're like, boom, boom, boom.
See what Rory said about the November Masters?
No.
He said maybe it's just what I need to win the jacket because I'll be able to be in major form. I will have already played in 2, and that'll put me in a position and I'll be on a roll, ignoring the fact that February and March have been Rory's months for years.
Yeah. Well, he had a great year last year all the way through. He had a nice balance of success. Obviously couldn't take down Brooks, who was just throttling folks, and Tiger won the Masters.
But remember that, the year that Dustin slipped down the stairs at Augusta and he was unable to go?
I do indeed.
How he owned the first quarter of the calendar year. And people thought, oh, man, it's almost like pre-written that this guy is in his place. Rory has owned the West Coast swing at different points of his career, certainly the Florida swing multiple times, and it's the putting is always fixed. The putting is fixed. The putting is fixed. Like, I don't know that Major 3 is going to make a difference over Major 1 for him, because it's not like he's won the British, before they changed the schedule. It's not like he won the British 2 or 3 times in the past 5 years.
Right. He did win the British the one time.
Yeah, he won it back in like 14 or 15.
Yeah, 15. I mean, and that was a performance. That was a virtuoso.
It was, but it's not like he routinely always plays well in the back half of the majors, and he's won a bunch of them. He's been in a drought for some time.
He has.
I just don't know what making it the third major is going to make any difference. It's a nothing comment.
It's what golfers do to convince themselves. Golfers are the king of excuse making. It's always everybody else's fault. There's always some reason that they didn't perform. Trey talks about this all the time. That don't give golfers a chance to make an excuse. They will. It's always, the pin placement's ridiculous on that hole. It's always somebody else's fault that you didn't execute it. And they have to do that to protect themselves to some degree, because it is an individual sport and you are responsible for every swing. So if you falter, you can be awfully hard on yourself pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And so they devise ways to deflect.
So last night, Golf Channel is actually where I'm gravitating more towards in this time. I know I heard you on headlines say MLB
Oh,
Network.
I'm on MLB all the time. But I also can watch. How many parts to the Ken Burns baseball documentary are there? I know is it 10th inning? The 10th inning, they have that one. They did that. They added on to it was extra innings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did that. But what I would tell you is this. It seems like every time I tune in to one of those episodes on MLB Network, one of the particular seasons, if you will, of baseball by Ken Burns, it's in a part that I don't remember seeing before, or it's an era that they're documenting that I didn't see, and I'm like, the footage that he got for that documentary, I marvel. Where did you go to get? I want to go to where you went to get that footage, because clearly there's tons of it laying around. Like, you're able to access stuff from 1907. Here you go. Look at this. I'm like, who got that? How did we get that picture? Look at that young Ty Cobb getting his first ever at bat in the minor leagues. Like, where did you get that picture?
Well, and part of me wonders, too, like, how much money does Ken Burns have to assign to purchasing these things? Because it's more than just museums. It's more than just, I'm going to lean on museum collections in order to garner all the information. I'm sure he pays some families who have these things as heirlooms directly and says, hey, man,
I need it. Yeah.
Here's $10,000. I need to film this, and then I'll give it back to you. But I need these things to compile. He's got to have a massive budget for those types of projects. I've watched maybe 10 minutes of that whole documentary series, though. I know that needs to be.
It's incredible.
It's knocked out.
It's incredible. Take the time to watch that, Tom. Maybe over the course of 2 or 3 days. You don't want to necessarily do it all at once. That would be a real investment, but you do have time. What I would tell you is you're left breathless with the amount of footage and the amount of material that he has access to. It is, and also, like any other endeavor over the scope of 100+ years, there are going to be individuals and moments and stories that fall between the cracks that a documentary like this can go back and cover and revisit. Yeah, you know about Ruth, and here's this amazing footage of Jackie Robinson, and you know about Willie Mays, and here's some footage of Roberto Clemente, and here's this and that. That's all well and good. Those are the highlights of the history of the game, the 25 or 50 greatest players to ever play it. We got a lot on them. But the guys that had 16-year careers that you've never heard of, that were instrumental in a change in approach at the plate, a change on the mound, a philosophy, managers who brought something to the table that were then adopted by others and they never got credit for it. A lot of stuff that happened in the Negro Leagues that was stolen and never documented is documented here. And you find out about some great players who, by all accounts, could have played in the majors, obviously. And not just the names you're used to hearing. Guys that were just kind of middle-of-the-road players, all-stars for 10 years in the Negro Leagues that there are actual quotes on the record from major leaguers who saw him play. Like, oh, I always wanted to play with him. I thought he could have been this, or that, but never got the opportunity. Just, it's a rich collection, and it's something that, I mean, you get wrapped up in, and they're real feel-good stories, real tragedies, backstories to things that you never knew about that affect the way you view historical greats. I'm still waiting. They've got to do it. At some point they will. Can we please get a definitive movie and a good one? And I'm not talking about John Goodman's sorry-ass movie. I'm talking about, can somebody do Babe Ruth's story? Because it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you go from the orphanage to being the richest man in America, to making more than the president and being beloved in a way that very few have ever been exalted. Obviously Jordan and Tiger and Muhammad Ali and a few others, but Babe is in that category. And to come from where he came from and to endure in his early years what he endured, this documentary points out some of that. I mean, that guy had a rough go. You're a little bit more forgiving of his hedonism because you realize he had nothing and it was a tough life. And then he got a little something because he also, though, gave back to a ton of people along the way. He was sharing the wealth and having a very good time.
See, what I'm learning on Golf Channel, and this goes back to the point about making excuses or not, the Jack documentary is airing this week. They air like the same loop of stuff. They had the Ryder Cup on earlier this week.
They do the one on Arnie, and they have the
Arnie one is a little bit more sing-songy. The Jack one is a little bit more
it's
empirical,
good.
blood and guts kind of stuff. And they're showing him at the 59 U.S. Amateur. He's playing a guy named Charlie Coe, who was a really good player in the time, both amateur and pro. I think if he went pro. But I remember him being paired with like Arnold the final day of like a Masters or something. Anyway, Coe had won the year before the U.S. Amateur, and Jack had a chance to beat him, and it was like a knockdown drag-out. Jack birdied his first 3 holes, and Charlie's like, well, who the hell is this guy? But Charlie had birdied 2 of the first 3. So it goes all 18. And it's tied. And Charlie's off the green, and he chips to about an inch, and it stays out of the cup. So Jack has a 10-footer to win the thing. But that's how close it was. Yes, but he said that the that 10-footer was the moment that he knew he had something inside him.
Yeah, to do it.
He had the confidence to move forward. And he says that it's probably the most important putt that I ever hit because I believed in that moment. And that's the thing, man. Across all sports, you've got to have that moment where there are no excuses. Either you make it or you miss it, and you make it. Not Lee Westwood, Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah,
you've got to make it.
Well, and you know, here's the one thing I always take exception to, and why I root for guys. You don't know it till you know it, and you don't make it till you make it. And those guys have made countless pressure putts in non-majors. Lee Westwood's won a ton of tournaments. You don't accidentally win. It's like the people who say Martin didn't have it, couldn't win big games. How do you get to the College World Series? You got to win a lot of big games. Do you think the road win against LSU was a big win? Do you think any of the wins in the regionals, super regionals, games against elite teams that you won were games that would be constituted as big games? Of course he could win big games. He just didn't win the final game. And I think when it comes to majors, there are guys, you're right, who throw up on themselves. And they'll throw up an 80 on a Sunday when they had a chance to win a tournament. But there are plenty of guys who also were victims of golf being golf. They went out and shot 70, and some ass shot a 65 on a Sunday.
Right, and they had a 2-shot lead going into it, yeah.
Like Johnny Miller shoots a 63, and you're in the lead. Come on, man.
Yeah.
My man shot a 63. I came out here and shot a 69, and I got smoked.
Yeah, but there are some guys that you know.
Yes.
I mean, and all the greats talk about it like, well, that's a nobody. Like, they look at the leaderboard like, that guy's a nobody, that guy's a nobody, that guy's a nobody. Jack was the first to really get popularized for it.
Until he's not. Until he makes enough of those putts and wins one. Well, and then all of a sudden it changes everything about his view.
Tommy Fleetwood. If Tommy Fleetwood's in the final 2 groups on a Saturday or a Sunday
we're not buying it right now.
Pick the over. If it says 72.5, play the over. If he's 10 groups before the final group
he'll
on a
shoot
Sunday,
62 on you.
and it's over under 69.5 or 68,
you
take the under.
Yeah,
he can't do it when the focus is on him. Not yet, at least.
Not yet, yeah. Hasn't done it yet, yeah.
But, I mean, he fails in spectacular ways when it is on him. I mean, if you could play it and double down and say the last 3 holes after he's out of it that he's going to go 1 under or, 1 under, over under, he's going to go 2 under because it doesn't matter anymore. He's done that so many times in his career already.
I've begun to feel that way about my man, old Tony Finau, who I like, but I'm looking at you, Tony. I need you to step up.
Second time we brought him up, but it was uncomfortable watching that 18th hole out in Arizona because there was a coronation on the broadcast.
Yeah.
They showed his family, and they're like, this is such a big win for Tony.
Deal. Yeah.
And it was like, boom, Webb Simpson.
It's a real good thing that Jason Day cashed in the chips and won a major, because if he hadn't, we'd be looking at him.
And he took that one.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Jordan was trying as best as he could.
We would look at Jason Day with a jaundiced eye because he's got a lot of runner-ups.
Already do.
Well, but he's a really good player. He's a really good player.
Really good player.
And he's also won a major. 2, right? He's won 2?
Just one.
Just one. Jeff Cameron Show. And that's it, isn't it? Oh, where did the time go, Tom? Good on you.
Hopefully we say that at some point. Yeah. Where did the time go?
Oh, damn it.
Because I feel time. Time is heavier than it usually is.
Yeah, weightier. You're right. Good work out of you. Our thanks to all of you. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Enjoy your evening. Be well. Stay safe.